they had VC or NVA come out of a spider hole and threw a Chi-Com at this guy. He picked it up, went to throw it back, and it went off in his hand. Arm gone, side of his head gone. People were they were a little uncertain about the war, but they weren't like they were when we came home. Guys coming home, throwing with signs and names, Nazi, murderer, baby killer, don't forget baby killer. Feel like your soul coming out of your chest.
Mr. Bob Parsons.
In the flesh.
Welcome to the show.
Good to be here, Sean.
Man, I'm really excited to interview you. I've been watching GoDaddy, you, all your companies for decades now, and I just find you to be a fascinating human being. So I just want to say thank you for making the time and coming into Nashville and knocking this interview out with me. I think it's going to be awesome.
It's my pleasure, brother.
Perfect.
Thanks for having me here.
It's my honor. But everybody starts off with an introduction here. So, Bob Parsons, United States Marine infantry veteran who received the Purple Heart in the Vietnam War. Self-taught programmer who started Parsons Technology in your basement in 1984, growing it into a $100 million revenue company before selling it for $64 million. Founder of GoDaddy, the world's largest domain name registrar, which you sold for $2.3 billion. CEO and founder of Yam Worldwide with ventures like Parsons Extreme Golf, Scottsdale National Golf Club, and Harley Davidson of Scottsdale. Philanthropist who, alongside your wife, Renee, founded the Bob and Renee Parsons Foundation in 2012. Trailblazer in psychedelic-assisted therapy, using it to confront your own PTSD and funding over $19 million in research to help others. That's super close to me. I did that. I did an Ibogaine experience in Mexico and totally changed the trajectory of my family life, my business life, every aspect. And New York Times best-selling author of the book Fire in the Hole, self-made billionaire, ranked 338 on the Forbes 400 2024 list with a net worth of $3.9 billion. You're a husband, father, grandfather, and great-grandfather. Welcome home. And you have a quote that I read that I love, and it says, "I believe I was born a dreamer."
I know I was, yeah.
When did you come up with that quote?
I've always been a dreamer. So it was when I was taking a inner child workshop one time, trying to find myself. This is way back when, and I had to write myself a letter, and the letter was from me now or then to when I was a young child, when I was a young boy.
Wow.
What would I say? And then how would I write back? So I did that, and then I had to write about myself, the different parts of me. And that's where I just sitting in my hotel room at night. Just when I was writing this for the next day's class, I just remember thinking, I believe I was born a dreamer, and I was. So that's how that came about.
And stuck with you ever since.
Yeah, sure, it has. And as a matter of fact, I used that paper that I turned in. That is the introduction to my book, or the preface. And the letter to the little boy and the letter back. And then about myself. And the letter about myself starts exactly with that. I believe I was born a dreamer.
Wow. What is the letter to yourself? What did you say to your young self?
Did I say to my young self?
Yes.
It's said that, I'm writing to you for many years in the future. And I know more about you than any other person alive. I know everything there is to know about you. And I know that you're going through a tough time in your life. I know that my mother was insane. And Dad wasn't around much. And so I just never understood it as a kid. But I was scared most of the time. And I told my younger self to hang in there, because you know more about the right thing to do than anybody's going to tell you, and to just hang on. And that one day, believe in yourself and never stop dreaming, because more than anything, that'll be your salvation.
That's powerful.
So that's that letter.
What did your young self write back?
Well, didn't write much. We had to write it with the left hand, our non-dominant hand, so it looked like a young child. And it basically wrote that, thank you for writing to me. I cannot wait to be you. And I'll see you when I grow up.
Man,
Yeah.
And what was that for?
That was for an inner child workshop. And I was just trying to get rid of my PTSD and deal with it.
When did you do that?
Oh, God, it had to be in the 90s sometime.
In the 90s.
Yeah.
Well, we'll dive into all the therapy and getting better after war trauma. But, Bob, I would love to do... I know you know this, but I want to do an expose on your life. And so we're going to go through childhood, the Marine Corps, Vietnam, and all your business ventures, and some life lessons you've learned. I'd love to know about your values and all that stuff. But before we kick it off, we'll start with something light. So there was this back and forth conversation from your assistant and us about the condom story. I don't know anything about it. I didn't want to know anything about it. I just want to hear it directly from you. And the little I do know about it, it sounds hilarious. So what is the condom story?
Well, the condom story is when I was this was a junior or a senior in high school. I had never been with a woman, I mean, we talked about it day and night, but I had never been with a girl. And I'm growing up in East Baltimore, so my buddy Danny Thorne, who's a year or two older than me, who was my total advice on, he told me everything I needed to know about women. Most of the stuff totally wrong, right? like he told me, he said, when you go down on a woman, right? And I see, I don't even know what it looks like. Right? He says, you go down on a woman.
There's a lot of ways to do it.
He says, you move all the hair to the side. This is back before they shaved, right? Move all the hair to the side, and you kiss. You're gonna see something that looks like the baby Jesus. Kiss it. And so anyhow, that was the advice I grew up with.
Nice.
So Danny was getting home base action from this girl named Tony, and Tony was she lived with her mom. It was her and her mom, and her mother was going out of town for the weekend, and so Danny arranged with Tony that he and her would have the upstairs, and Tony's girlfriend Pauline said that she was ready to plunge ahead and I'd be just the guy that she wanted to do it with. So I thought, oh my God, right?
It's here.
Yeah, so I'd go ahead and it sounds good to me. So the first thing I did the next day was a Monday. I remember I went to the pharmacy and I had just enough money to buy one condom. So I bought one condom. And so I'd go home at the end of the day and I'd have his condom squirreled away, and I'd pull it out and I'd sit it on my dresser and I'd look at it and it'd look at me, and and each of us wondering what the other one's thinking. And so finally the day comes where it's Friday, and I come home from, it's 3 o'clock or so, and I go ahead and take a bath. We didn't have a shower, so I took a bath, and I got all ready for to go out and meet Pauline. So I put on my best clothes. They weren't much, but they were my best. So I go ahead and do that, and then I pulled his condom out. And I guess by then it's 4 o'clock. And I pulled his condom out, and I said, shit, I take it out of the package, right? And I look at it, and I go, wow, that's it. So I'm looking at it, and again, it's looking at me. And I remember thinking, it's my first time. And you could just picture the condom saying to me, it's my first time too, right? So we taken, as soon as I put it, as soon as I pulled it out, I'm hard as a rock. I mean, I'm thinking about this. I'm ready to shoot through the roof, right? So I take this condom, and I think, I wonder what it feels like with this thing on. So I put the condom on, and I put it all the way on, and I thought, you know what? I'll just leave it on. And that's why when we get ready to have sex, I'll be ready. So I go up and meet them and so forth. And so that was about 6 o'clock. We were going to get together, and I had went flaccid then. And when I went flaccid, the condom rolled all the way up, and it rolled up in my pubic hairs. Right? So I'm there with Pauline, Danny, and Tony go upstairs. But we're on the sofa. She's got this little club basement, fixed up, and so we're on the sofa there. So I reach over and I kiss Pauline, and we start smooching. And man, that thing was like a switchblade, flat back. But the only difference was, Sean, it didn't unwrap the way it wrapped up in the pubic hairs, didn't let them go. So instead, it hung on to every one, and it just pulled with the force of it felt like somebody took my pubic hairs and glued them to the bumper of a Chevy and floored it. Right?
Oh my gosh.
So first I said, I'll just tough through this. And I did, and then it got blinding. And then the season's spy would have talked. So I went right to the floor, and they had this little bathroom with this little door with a little latch on it. It's just a makeshift toilet, right? So I go crawl and get into there and shut it and latch it and try to get this thing off. I can't get it off. I mean, it won't come off. It's, my penis is like, I'm not letting go. and I'm saying, Hail Marys, Our Fathers. I'm doing everything I could think of. And I mean, nobody ever talked to me how to get rid of a heart. I was thinking of the Mother Superior, who was the gnarliest woman I ever seen. Thinking about maybe what it'd be like to having sex with Mother Superior. Didn't matter. So eventually, I mean, she knocks on the door. Pauline knocks on the door. She says, "Is everything okay?" I said, "Sure, it is. I'll be right out. I'll be out. Don't worry. I'll be out in a minute." So eventually, I think it took me 20 minutes to get it off, but I finally got it off. Hairs everywhere, and I put it back on.
Nice.
And I pulled myself together, went outside, and she's long gone. She left.
You lost her.
I lost her. Yeah, that was the first. So I lost her, and I still remember my buddy Danny. I never told anybody what happened way back then. Never told anybody. He said, "How did you fuck this up?" He says, "It was a sure thing." And
Oh man.
she told all her girlfriends that what we were going to do, and then we sat down. I kissed her, and then I ran locked myself in the bathroom, and and then of course I was
Never sealed the deal with that one, huh?
I killed the deal totally.
Poor Pauline. She missed out.
Well, I'm hoping someday, I don't know where she is, but if she is, hope she gets the book or she says, that's what happened.
Wow. Well, there's an old saying, 2 is 1 and 1 is none.
That's the Marine Corps taught me that, yeah.
But, well, that clears that up, the condom story. Wow. What a great way to start. My partner, the award-winning precious metals company Goldco, has a special offer for you. Right now, you can get a free gold and silver kit. You'll learn about how gold and silver can help you protect your retirement savings. On top of that, you could get unlimited free bonus silver if you qualify. That's right, as a special offer for being a supporter of my show, you could get unlimited free silver when you open a qualified account. So don't wait, the sky is the limit. With everything happening in the world today, it's time to learn about gold and silver. Get your free gold and silver kit from my partners at Goldco today. Are your savings protected? Do you have a hedge against market risk and uncertainty? Learn why gold has been breaking record after record. I believe there's no better time to get your free gold and silver kit. Go to SeanLikesGold.com. That's SeanLikesGold.com. You're doing all the right things to plan for your family's future. Savings accounts, cutting back on spending. But what if the unexpected happens and you're no longer in the picture? A term life insurance policy could give your family more financial protection, and Fabric by Gerber Life can help. Fabric by Gerber Life is term life insurance you can get done today. Made for busy parents like you, all online and on your schedule. You could be covered in under 10 minutes with no health exam required. Fabric has flexible, high-quality policies that fit your family and your budget, like $1 million in coverage for less than $1 a day. I know I'm always thinking about providing the best for my children and their future, and I know Fabric is helping me do just that. They have over 1,900 five-star reviews on Trustpilot with a rating of excellent, so why would you go with anybody else? Join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their family. Apply today in just minutes at meetfabric.com/Sean. That's meetfabric.com/Sean. MEET fabric.com/Sean. Policies issued by Western Southern Life Assurance Company, not available in certain states. Prices subject to underwriting and health questions. All right, so a couple things. One, I got you a gift. Vigilance Elite Gummy Bears, legal in all 50 states, at least until RFK makes them illegal. It's just candy. But yeah, we make those. Like I said, they're made right here in the USA. And then one other thing to knock out. I got a Patreon account that's a subscription network. We've turned it into quite the community. And I started this show in my attic in my house, and then we moved here, and now we're getting ready to move into a lot bigger facility that's out on some acreage, and we'll make a better guest experience. But Patreon's been with me since the beginning, and they've really supported me with what I'm doing, and they're the reason that I get to be here today with you. And so one of the things that we do is we offer somebody in Patreon to ask each and every guest a question. And so this is from Nate. Hi, Bob. I really admire your journey and what you've built. As a fellow U.S. Marine, I've come to believe that owning your own business is the ultimate form of freedom. But honestly, the most daunting part for me is figuring out what to build, how to find that unique idea or opportunity worth going all in on. How did you approach this early on? Semper Fidelis.
Semper Fi, Nate. Well, buddy, listen, the way I've always done it was I did what I liked. And my dad, for all his faults, I mean, he had a lot of good ideas, about certain things. But one of the things he said is you always should do what you love. because when you love something, it tells you all its secrets. And I believe that. And it only stands to reason, Nate, because when you do what you love, you're going to work harder at it. And you're not doing it just for the money. And, you know, depending upon why you're working, right? Why you're doing what you're doing, that's going to determine how successful you are. And you'll never be successful if you're just working for the money, because you won't do the things you need to do to be successful, because they're counterintuitive. So there you have it.
Man, that's great advice. I would 100% agree with that. And I'm doing what I love, and where this takes me just continues to surprise me every day. I can't even believe I'm sitting down here with you. But so let's start. Let's get into the interview. So you grew up in East Baltimore.
I did. Yep.
Brothers, sisters.
I grew up in East Baltimore. A younger brother, younger sister. Mom and dad, of course. And we never had much. Mom and dad were gamblers, and neither one of them were good at it. And so we were always broke. I mean, always broke. And if dad bought anything, it was always with credit, and they always would goose him with the interest rate. So which means we even had less. So if we needed to have anything, we had to figure out how we were going to work and earn it, and how we're going to make money and get what we wanted to get. And we did things like newspaper routes, shoveling snow, running errands, working in filling stations, construction, all that kind of stuff. But my first business is an interesting story. It was a lemonade stand. And so one day, I'm probably about 8 or 9 years old, and I go ahead and decide it's one of those hot days that they get in Baltimore that, you know, you could see this heat wave off the tar street, you know, asphalt street. And when I did that, I decided, man, I'll make lemonade. I'll have a lemonade stand out here today. Well, Mom wasn't around. It was just me. I was the only one home. So I go ahead and get this picture out that she had. And I knew that lemonade was lemon and sugar and water. So I get this bottle of lemon out, and this is called real lemon, and I fill this thing up with the lemon, and then I put the sugar in it, and then I put water in it, and I mix it all up, and no matter how I made it, it just didn't taste quite right. And then I get the idea, maybe that's the way it's supposed to taste. So I just put more sugar in it. Right, and I just keep mixing it up, and then so I go outside. I had this little table. I set this little table up at the base of her porch, and I put this little sign up: lemonade, 5 cents. And the lemonade picture looked beautiful. I mean, it looked beautiful. It had like a little sweat on it. I mean, it's perfect. Well, this is back during the days. Back during the late 50s, when the insurance guys life insurance guys would walk debit routes, right? And they collect the weekly premium, because that's the only way you're going to get it in East Baltimore. Mm-hmm. You go knock on somebody's door and they get it from them. So this guy's name is Mr. Hill, Hill, and he's got this little pork pie hat on. He's got his sports coat slung over his shoulder, got his tie undone. He's walking, squatting like a hog, right? And so he says to me, he goes, "And kid," he says, "Man, can I use this today?" So I fixed him a lemonade, and he gives me a dime, told me to keep the change, and I couldn't believe my luck. So he takes and he knocks this lemonade back, and he seems to wave. And he's waving around. His eyes bulge. He spits his lemonade out in the street, and he goes, That's good as the worst fucking lemonade I've ever tasted in my life. And he goes storming away. And so I thought, maybe it just isn't that bad. Maybe he don't know how it tastes.
Yeah.
So the next day, a girl across the street, Suzanne, she comes over. She buys a cup of lemonade, takes it over home, comes back and says, "My mother says you have to give me my money back." So I give her money back, and same thing. And then nobody would come near my lemonade stand. so the guy comes over. Later, my mother comes home and she says, "What are you doing?" And I said, I'm selling lemonade." She said, "You're selling lemonade?" I said, "Yeah." She said, how did you make it?" And I showed her. I said, "I took the lemon bottle and I poured it in the thing." She goes, "I'll keep vinegar in that bottle."
Oh, shit.
So I made lemonade with vinegar, and she helped me make a better lemonade that actually tasted good. Nope, word already done. Got out. Nobody even wanted it for free.
Nice.
So anyhow, that was my first business. Utter failure.
So you said your parents are gamblers. What were they gambling in? Anything they could, or
Anything. Horses, sports, numbers. That's about that. Mom would go to bingo all the time, but that was a more social thing than a pure gamble. But that's what they would do.
Yeah. And your dad was a World War II CB in Guadalcanal.
Yeah, he was in Guadalcanal, Bougainville, the Fijis.
Did you guys talk about that?
Yeah, we did. He was had all these pictures and he told me, he says, yeah, it was a rough, miserable place. Had a picture of his ship that he took from the beach, and the Japanese suicide sub, 2-man sub, screwed into the side and blew it up.
Oh, wow.
And I said, how were you there? You knew they were going to take a picture? He says, we knew it was there. They couldn't do anything to the sub because the moment they touched it, they would blow it, right? So they just all got off the ship, and then it wasn't that they waited for him to get off the ship; they just were able to. And so he had that. And he part of what he did was drive a bulldozer, I believe. And he said they sounded like the Japanese Zeros sounded like washing machines. He said the Marines. He said the Marines had it the toughest. He said, but he helped build the airfield and stuff like that.
Wow.
So.
Wow. What else were you into as a kid? I mean, it sounds like life was pretty rough. What kind of stuff were you into?
Well, I was a terrible student. And I failed the 5th grade. And nobody can ever take that away from me. But when I failed the 5th grade, Sister Brenda, I was in parochial school. Sister Brenda was a nun, and she didn't talk much, but she sure hated me because she kept me almost every day after school. She would just turn around, and I'd think, man, I'm going to go home one time. A kid would say, hey, Robert, can you hand me that? Or something. I'd hand it to him. She'd go, Robert Parsons, you're staying at school. So anyhow, it was the last day of school, and me, this kid named Frankie, his kid named Anthony, and everybody got their report cards. It was one of them Baltimore days, hotter and shit, and it was maybe June or May, and I went to St. Elizabeth's, Hungary. And so all I was looking for was a nun-free summer. Sister Brenda handed everybody their report cards, and then she said to me, Frankie, Nancy says, "You three, wait here. I'll be back later." And as I take this line out, then and there you go. And then I'll process your whatever's going to happen. But she didn't say we failed. So Anthony's saying, I remember him saying, wonder what Sister Brenda wants us to stay back here for. And it occurred to me, I said, because we failed. And so she took everybody out to meet their parents. And the way this was set up, St. Elizabeth occupied one big city square block. And she would walk out if you were facing, I don't know the direction, but if you face in one of the directions and you go at the left side, you go all the way down and you turn by the nunnery or the convent and take all the way down, and then across the street is where she meet the parents. Well, my father, every year on the last day of school, he'd pick up me and my brother. And my sister, later, she was involved in that. He'd pick us up, and he'd take us over to a sporting goods store or something, and we'd buy something, and for passing, and then we'd bring us home. So I was thinking, there is no way I'm going to tell my father I failed. So as soon as she left, I left. So she's going left, I go right. And I run through the schoolyard, down around the side, over where the parents are, up around the side of the convent, and up against the wall or this black fence where it was fencing off the convent. And I could see Sister Brenda in the class coming down, walking down with them. And everybody's happy with their report cards and so forth. And I said to her, well, the thing I had in my favor was I knew about Sister Brenda. She was a very lazy nun. I had some inside information. She would never, during the few times when I would go home one time with everybody else, she would break off and go right into the nunnery. She never walked the class all the way down. And so she did the same thing with this. She took and let the class go, ran to the nunnery, and the class turned right and was going to walk down by herself. And she went back to crucify the unholy threesome, right? So I just stood and I was halfway worried that the class was going to see me and we were going to go, what are you doing, and so forth. They didn't even notice me. I mean, I could have been one of the bushes. So they were too worried about themselves and the report cards. So they started away, kept walking. I followed them, and I go down the block with them, and I cross the street where my father is. My father's already there with my brother looking at his report card. And my father says to me, Robert, where's your report card? And I said, Dad's sister didn't give me one. He says, you didn't give me one? He looks at me like a dog that heard a strange noise, And I said, no, Dad, this year, if you passed, you didn't get a report card. That's when the lie came out. So you keep in mind, he's holding my brother's report card. And he's smoking Barrington's right then. He takes a puff and he says, all right, get in the car. And he says, not a problem. So he takes us to the sporting goods store. I know, but in the sporting goods store, I'm on death row. So he says, my brother's got a bunch of stuff. My father's going to put most of that back. Just pick one thing you want. And then he says to me, Robert, don't you want anything? I said, Dad, I got plenty. I had nothing. so he says, I'll get something. So I got this first baseman's mitt, for a young kid. And so we go home. The same thing happens with my mother. My brother comes in, gives him his report card, and then he gives me the she says, where's your report card? Same thing, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And she says, I never heard of such a thing that, if you pass, you didn't get a report card. And I pulled it out. I said, my call sister. And she said, I'm calling that sister. I said, well, if you think you should feel better, call her. So I went and sat on a sofa, and I waited for the school to call. Well, the school never called.
No,
they never called. I waited all summer long, and they didn't call. All summer. So So I'd have my buddies that I'd be playing ball with or something. They'd say to me, Robert, what's wrong? I said, nothing's wrong. I said, oh, something's wrong. I said, nothing's wrong. Now, I knew if I told one of them, it'd be all over the place. So I didn't tell anybody. So fast forward to the first day of school. As a matter of fact, one time I went to tell my dad what was going on, and then he goes, he's got the newspaper up as hot as there's no air conditioning in the house. He's sitting on his sofa that is covered in plastic, so it would stay nice for my mother. He's sweating his ass off, smoking and everything. So I say, Dad, I'm going to tell him, Dad. And he drops the paper, and I see these eyes bulging out, sweat running down his face. I said, never mind. Paper I'm out the door. So anyhow, first day of school, I get in. We go with Miss Molly, the neighbor lady. You know, she had this little red beetle. She was this big, large woman, and it looked like there was 100 kids in that car. You could hardly move. But anyhow, she pulls up. We all go in. I get in line, and St. Elizabeth's had one class for each grade. And I get in there line with the sixth graders, and I didn't know what else to do. And I look over in the fifth grade class. There's Frankie and Anthony, and they're motioning me to come over. I'm going, I don't even want to look at them. So they ring the bell, and then they start moving in, you know, the first graders, second graders, third, fourth, fifth. And then time for the sixth graders, and I'm at the end of the line. Our nun that year is Sister St. Thomas. She pulls me out of that line. She says to me, she puts me against the wall. She's got her nose about maybe 2 inches from mine. She says, Sister Brenda told me what you did. And I thought, all right, there it is. And she told me what she did. And I said, I didn't say anything. And she says, and she didn't know what to do, so she passed you.
No shit.
So that's how I failed the fifth grade, but I didn't have to repeat it.
You moved on to sixth.
Yeah, and she said to me, she said, if you give me any trouble, you're going right back into the fifth grade. I said, I won't, sister. And I wish I could tell you I was a lot better. I was a little bit better, right? And I remember when I got my sixth grade grades, I showed them to my mother, and she goes, well, this is nothing to be proud of, but you did pass. And I like it better when you get a report card. I said, so do I, Mom.
Oh, man. So at what point when did you get interested in the Marine Corps?
I got in interested in the Marine Corps one day at the end of gym class. I was a senior. It was probably March or April, and I had discovered alcohol, and I had rediscovered the opposite sex, and neither have ever been known to help grades in school, right? And so I took in with that. I was sure I was going to fail. I mean, this time I wasn't going to be able to pull it off. So I had two buddies say to me that they were going to go talk to the Marine Corps recruiter on Conklin Street. Would I go with them? And I said, sure. I got nothing to do. So I went with them, and there was a guy named Mike and a guy named Aggie. Agaris, his name was. He was a Greek guy, and we take and go meet this recruiter, and he had us at hello, buddy. And so I joined right with the boys, right with them, and my mother had to sign the papers for me to join.
Oh, really?
And she said, and maybe this will be what you need. And it's during the height of the Vietnam War. That was in 1968. Man, it was, that war was rocking and rolling then. And so I went and showed all my teachers when I could finally get my orders, because the Marine Corps, a recruiter said, we check your grades and this and that and the other thing, and, we won't take you unless you're top notch and so forth. And so I thought, probably not get in, but I'll do it anyhow. Well, I could have had no head, and they'd have took me back during those days. And so I got accepted, and there you go.
You knew you were going to war.
Huh?
You knew you were going to go to war.
Yeah, I thought it was. And then, like the idiots that young guys can be, we all said, man, we hope it's not over until we get there. And, well, we got our wish.
So you must have joined at age 17?
I was 17, yeah.
17 years old, joined the Marine Corps to go to Vietnam. And what was your job description in the Marine Corps? What did you
0311, buddy.
Nice.
Is number familiar?
Oh, yeah. Very familiar.
Yeah, I was in 0311. Aggie was in 0311. Michael was in 0311. And and then crazy shit happens, and we come home. Aggie gets in a tussle at a bar his mother owns, gets stabbed to death. So he never even went. And then me and Mike went. I went to Delta Company, 26 Marines. We were in Quang Nam province. And then Mike, he went to 1st Marine somewhere. And I don't see him anymore. And there we go.
Ask 10 people to define the word capitalism. This subject comes up all the time, but do you know what it means? Find out with Understanding Capitalism, a free online course from Hillsdale College. They offer more than 40 free online courses. You can learn about the United States Constitution or even the history of the ancient Christian church. Hillsdale recently launched a new course, Understanding Capitalism, that I've been watching. In 7 lectures, you'll learn about the role of profit and loss, how human nature plays a role in our economic system, why capitalism depends on private property rights, the rule of law, and, above all, freedom. I believe all Americans should learn more about economics. Understanding these concepts can make you more informed and even help you grow your own business. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/SRS to enroll in this course, Understanding Capitalism. There's no cost, and it's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/SRS to enroll for free. hillsdale.edu/SRS. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. 26% of Americans who participated in a recent survey say they have avoided seeking mental health support due to fear of judgment. When people hesitate to get help, it doesn't just affect them, it impacts families, workplaces, and entire communities. During this Mental Health Awareness Month, let's encourage everyone to take care of their well-being and break the stigma. The world is better when people are healthy and happy. Therapy is a great way to take care of your mental health, and it can help empower you to be the best version of yourself. BetterHelp has over 10 years of experience matching people with the right therapist from their diverse network of more than 30,000 licensed therapists with a wide range of specialties. BetterHelp is fully online, making therapy affordable and convenient, serving over 5 million people worldwide. And with BetterHelp, you can easily switch therapists at any time at no extra cost. We're all better with help. Visit betterhelp.com/SRS to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/SRS. Well, it sounds like the Marine Corps was a very transformative process for you, and
100%.
give it a lot of credit.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say is, it was, they did more for me than I ever did for them. And everything I ever accomplished, I'd have never done it without the Marine Corps, because they give me direction. They give me the importance of understanding responsibility. They give me, the fact that, to believe in myself and that I can accomplish more than I ever dreamed possible. And I always owe them for that.
So how long was it from when you signed the documents that you went off to Vietnam?
I signed the documents probably in April, maybe May, April, May. And then I was inducted in August. And 6 months after August, Vietnam.
Wow. Wow. So you went through basic training, your infantry school, 311 school, and then right to theater.
There you go.
How was boot camp for you? Basic training.
Well, boot camp took me a while to get adjusted, but after a while I got adjusted, which is fine, you know. I mean, the food was great. And I still remember that ice cold chocolate milk. And, you know, for me, it was the food. The food at Parsons was step up. And so you know, I liked it. I was able to do it, and I would have been a rifle expert. I was a rifle sharpshooter, and I was doing okay until I had like 2 rounds left, and I had this drill instructor, Sergeant Little. He said, "Parsons, you better even scream in my ear there." And it was pissed at me because I wasn't a.
What did your parents think about, and your siblings think about Vietnam? You going?
Well, you know, my dad said he wished he could go in my place. And mom, you know, you have to understand my parents, they were very different. My mother was, when she was a young girl, she was beat a lot by her father and so forth. So she was abused in that sense. And so she didn't have she had all the love beat out of her. So I remember when it was time for me to leave to catch the plane at Friendship Airport, which is not Baltimore, Washington then. And I'd go to Friendship Airport, and before that I was out at night before, and my mother comes in and she says, "Dad just got up and went to work." He didn't even say anything.
No kidding.
No. And then Mom said, "Well, I'm going to the racetrack with Aunt Bert. Don't get yourself killed."
That was it?
That was it. And off they went. And so I called my brother. I mean, not my brother, my cousin. And he gave me a ride to the airport. And they had, there's a lot of guys there. They had their girlfriends and sisters and family and mother signs and all this sort of thing. And with me, it was just me. But see, the hell of it was that's all I was ever used to. So I didn't bother me too much. And then to Pendleton.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
So you got no send off from family?
No.
Wow. Were you guys close at all?
Family?
Yeah.
No. Me and my brother.
Where do you fall in the birth order?
I'm first. My
Firstborn.
brother's second, and my little sister. And now they're all passed except for my little sister and me. And she and I are close, so.
That's good to hear. What's her name?
Beverly.
I mean, was there any communication once you got? Did you write them letters or anything?
Yeah, they'd write letters, and mostly it would be my brother and my sister would write me letters, and my buddies. Some of them would, and once in a while, parents would write me a letter, but not much.
Wow. Well, let's move into Vietnam. What was it like landing there?
Well, man, I tell you what, that place smelled different than any place I ever smelled in my life. It smelled like rot. So we spent our first night guarding the rear area, and that So it's just some place to put us, So they trucked us out to our unit, and we were with Delta Company, 1st Battalion, 26 Marines, 1st Platoon, 2nd Squad. And I got to my squad, and we're in Quang Nam, rice paddies as far as you can see, right? And it was quite a place. I remember I got the guys were staying in a tent, a canvas tent, and so I had a bunk, and a couple guys. It was, I think, like a Marine Corps rifle squad. It's about 12 guys, and there was not 12 guys in the squad. There was like 7, and maybe even less, because it was just the guys that were there and then us. And what happened is that they were ambushed a couple days before. We were sent out there. We were sent there as me and a couple others were sent there as replacements for the guys that were killed in this ambush. So they were killed, and there was 4 of them were killed. One of them was seriously wounded, and to a man, it was all the senior guys. So the guy who was the senior man, this new squad leader, had just turned 19 and had been in the bush for 6 weeks.
That was the most senior guy?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What did you think about that?
Well, at first, we were going out on our first night's ambush, and I sat down, and I went outside the hut, and we're at the very top of Hill 190, and since Hill 190, the number sits 190 feet above sea level. So we're at the top of this, and right at the top was this old French fort there, or this wall with shell holes in it and stuff. So I guess the French were overrun there. And I sat on this wall, and I started thinking about, how the hell am I going to survive this? Because the Army, Navy, and Air Force, their tours are 12 months. Marine Corps is 13 months. I don't know shit from I know all about this place. The guy who I'm replacing, the guy who replaced the squad leader, he don't know either, because, he hadn't been here much longer than I do. And so it didn't look good. So I started, I got scared for just a little bit. And then it occurred to me that I probably wasn't going to survive it. I was going to die there. And it was a hard thought at first, but then after you accept it, then nothing bothers you. Yeah.
It's interesting that you say that, because you're the only other person I've heard that articulated that, and that's kind of the way, not to inject my own experiences because they're irrelevant right now, but that's how I dealt with it too. I just always assumed I was already dead, and so it kind of took the fear out of it.
Yeah, it takes the fear totally out of it. But what it does, though, is you can do your job.
Yep.
You can do your job. And so that night, we went on our first ambush.
So you had come up with that mindset before any fighting had even started.
Excuse me?
You had come up with that mindset that you're already dead.
Yeah.
Before you ever pulled a trigger, before you were ever shot at, before you ever saw anything.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I did. Because I've been in so many different types of situations, and it just this is what it's going to be, and so anyhow, so that's the thought that I had. And the interesting thing is I'm friends with most of the guys in that squad. There's 7 of them, five of them, and most of them tell me the same story.
No kidding.
And they said I never told anybody. I mean, one guy is a squad leader. The guy that was the squad leader, he turned out to be marvelous. But he had the same thing. He said, how can you do your job if you worry about you're whether you're going to live or not, right? And he says, that's just not your problem at the moment, right? And the machine gunner, same thing. This guy's name is Brown. He lives down in Austin, Texas. I love the guy. So anyhow, but none of us told each other.
No shit.
Yeah. We just had that mindset. So anyhow, so we go out, we get our first ambush. We have a corpsman with us. And then a sister squad, we're just outside the village in a pagoda. And then
what's a pagoda?
A pagoda is it's like a little religious place.
Okay.
Where they have altars and stuff like that. At least that's what we called them, was pagodas. And and then about a couple clicks from us was another pagoda, and we had a sister squad set up there. And after we were set up on this ambush for maybe an hour or 45 minutes or something, but it was before we did a first move, because we would go out, we set up an ambush, we do wait a while, let it get good and dark, and then there'd be a first move, and then we'd set someplace else, and then there'd be another move, and then we'd set in for the night. And the deal would be to move so nobody knows where you're at. Mm-hmm. So anyhow, that was the thought. So this squad, our sister squad, is in this other pagoda, and all of a sudden all hell breaks loose where they are, and we get the radio call that they sprung their ambush. They had a fucking VC or NVA come out of a spider hole and threw a Chi-Com at this guy. And then he picked it up, went to throw it back, and it went off in his hand.
Shit.
Yeah, so he's pretty fucked up. And so to get there with the corpsman, because they didn't have a corpsman with them. So we get there, we run through this fucking rice paddy. Ever walk through a rice paddy?
No.
Well, I'll tell you what, a rice paddy's the shittiest thing in the world to walk through. I think God put him there to say, don't walk here. So the mud would be like about water be like about maybe a couple of feet deep, and then the mud would be a foot or deep or so. So you go down in it, and there's every kind of vermin you can think of is crawling around in there. So we're running through this rice paddy. I got my gear halfway on, halfway off. It's my first night in the bush. I don't know. Anyway, that it ought to be. It's choking me. His magazines are choking me. I got them in like a bandolero, like you see in the Old West, stupid. But nobody was there to show me.
Yeah.
Right. So we get there. This guy is hurt horrifically, not dead. Arm gone, side of his head gone. They're trying to check an eye that's not there with a hand that's not there. I mean, it's crazy shit, that you see in war. And the squad leader is this guy named Blackwell. And he starts just standing in this rice paddy. And he's throwing up, and then he's just standing there. And it's this helicopter just coming in, this Huey's coming in, and it's going to land right on him. So I see it. I run and grab him and push. It misses him and misses me. But we hit a rice paddy tank and go, and he snaps him out of it. And then, so I saved his ass, and then saved my own ass. But so then we took and they told us to go back out to different ambush places after this guy Hunt gets taken back, medevac back. And by the way, it didn't kill him. He didn't die. I seen him at a reunion. Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah. And so I take and we set in with the sister squad, which we weren't supposed to do at all, but we thought we'd get some sleep. So the next morning, the sun breaks. Nobody's answering the radios where we are, and the hell we're at. They're like, what the fuck? They're firing a 50 caliber machine gun over our head. Then we motored back and they shoot her ass out, and that was my first night in the bush.
Wow. I mean, so how did that experience sit with you? I mean, that's mission number one. You see a guy, gets his arm blown off, gets half his face blown off.
It didn't.
It didn't.
Didn't.
Were you numb to it before it ever happened?
No, pretty much, yeah. Pretty much, but the thing was, the crazy thing is that those guys were the first family I had. At just that little bit of time, I fell in love with those guys. Mm-hmm. I mean, they were my brothers. I mean, it happened like, boom, like that. So, and to this day, I'm still close to them. I talk to them once a week, certainly once a month.
And so your mission set was to go set up ambushes.
That was it. Yeah.
How many ambushes do you think you set up?
Oh, not a lot. Not a lot. I mean, I was in the bush for a month, and then I got wounded. And then I got wounded, but and then I hit a Chi-Com, Chinese Communist grenade. We call them Chi-Coms. It was set up as a trap, and my buddy, what the fuck's his name? Because my mind just went blank, but he'll kill me. I forgot his fucking name.
Well, we'll get there. We'll get there. Maybe it'll come
anyhow,
back.
He steps over a tripwire, and I hit it. And then so I caught shrapnel in both legs and left elbow. And then I got medevaced out all the way to the Naval Hospital in Cusco. So I was there for a couple of months or 3, or I don't even remember. I don't even know how long.
If it's okay, let's go. I want to get to that.
Okay.
And get a little more descriptive. But what were some of the other ambushes that you guys had done?
We're walking one ambush, and Brownie sees all of a sudden where we're going through this village, right? And it just gotten dark, right? And we're going through this village, and 2 NVA soldiers, both with NVA rifles, black pajamas, the whole 9 yards, come running right at us. He turns with his M60 and takes them both out. I mean, and they were dancing like dolls, and and then that night, and right then, we sweep towards the area where we had the activity come from, and my place I was sweeping towards where there was the hooch that I think that they came running out of, and I took a hand grenade and threw it, right? And only it didn't go as far as I thought it was going to go. And it landed on the other side of a rice paddy dike, facing away from us. So when it blew away from us, right? Guys, Lagotic and George, the squad leader, scared the shit out of them. They turned around and go, "Did you just fucking throw that?" And I said, "Yeah, I did." And they go, "Well, don't throw any more tonight." And then so the next day, George tells me to don't throw any more hand grenades. I said, "Do I still have to carry them?" He says, "Fucking ain't right, you gotta carry them." He says, "Just give them to somebody else to throw." And I said to him, "Suppose we're getting overrun." And he says, "Then you can throw them."
How were you guys moving around at night through that jungle?
Well, where we were, the only time I went through the jungle was during the day, because there was rice paddies on one side. There's not a lot of jungle on rice paddies
Okay.
located, and then the other side is where there was jungle and so forth. So I never spent. I spent some time there, but it was all during the day. But it was mostly just quiet, and being in the dark.
With 7 guys.
Well, 7, and then 10, and then 12, and then that sort of thing. And then I mean, it's just so many things. Like the first night I was there, I shot a snake. We would sweep, and body count was a big thing. So we'd sweep through the rice paddies, and we put up illumination, that comes down on them parachutes, and we'd look for bodies. So of course we didn't find any, and because this NVA that we did kill, they always would have something around, a piece of rope around her neck to be pulled away by somebody else.
No shit.
Yeah.
That's how they would collect their dead.
Yeah.
They would noose them. And drag them through.
Yep.
Wow.
So these guys have more stories, 100 more stories than I do, 100 times. But I mean, so we start sweeping, and I look, and there's this big fucking snake in the water, and it's swimming right towards me. I mean, it's swimming right fucking towards me, right? And it's my squad and this other squad. So we take in this squad's snake. And anyhow, so the snake's coming down, and it just when it's about 2 or 3 feet, because I'm thinking surely it's going to go left or right. This thing is coming like it's going to bite me in the balls, right? So I put my rifle on automatic, and all this water comes flying up, and it hits me in the fucking eyes, and I move, and I look, and I get my eyes clear, and I look left, right. Nobody's there. They're all underwater. Oh, fuck. Well, I didn't hear the end of that forever. And then George was nice about it later, because the next day he said, "Next time, don't shoot the snake." So anyhow, that was that night. And then, so just crazy shit that happened. I remember one time we were on a day patrol. For some reason or other, the whole company's coming out, and it's a day patrol, or the whole platoon. It was, I forget what it was, but me and me, Proctor, and a guy named Pavlovich were sent to get water. So we go into the village, and we get water, right? So we go into the village. We got everybody's canteen, right? And so we go in, and just when we go to get water, we can see this kid. He's coming out. He's got like one of these trays in front of him, like small cokes come in, the wooden trays, and he's got a burlap strap holding it up, and he's got burlap covering it. You know what he's got in there? I swear to God, you're not going to believe it. Nobody fucking believes me. And Proctor and the other two are dead, so is vanilla popsicles. He had fucking vanilla popsicles. He did. And so I take, and we take, and before you know it, this kid had everything we had of value bread, cans of bread, cigarettes. I mean, we're just eating one popsicle after another, right? Pavlovich goes, suppose these are poison, and then Proctor goes, who gives a fuck? Right? So that's one of my happy stories about the place. But crazy shit, crazy stuff.
Did you get into any firefights?
You know, the one that was the most was we surrounded this village, small village, and in it somehow they figured out that there was a squad or part of a platoon of North Vietnamese in the village, and we caught them there during the day. And so we're in there, and we're on the side, and the machine gun is the side that theirs is at. I mean that we're at. And so Brownie is on a little knoll not too far from us, and George says, "Get you Parsons and what the fuck is Bryant? The guy's name is Bryant." He goes, "You and Bryant run the can of machine gun ammo over to Brownie," and So we did, and then his fucking gun starts taking off, starts shooting at us. We dive, we're laying against this dike, and it's shooting over top of us. We get up, we get this stuff over to Brownie, and the funniest damn thing happened is I've thought about that at night, that day, many times, and I cannot remember what happened.
No shit.
And so I go to a reunion. I ask one of the guys there, I said, "Do you remember what happened?" Right? And he says, "Oh, we killed every fucking one of them." I said, "Did we?" I said, "Well, I was there one night." I said, "Yeah, you were there." I said, "Anything unusual happened?" "No, I don't remember. I mean, I don't. It's like it didn't happen." I remember giving the ammo to Brandy and this kid Goodwin, who was right running his A gunner. And no, that's it.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Totally blocked it out of your memory.
Totally.
I'm just curious. I mean, did that incident come up during any of your psychedelic journeys?
No.
Never.
No.
Wow.
Nope. Nope, didn't. And that is to the best of my knowledge, the only incident like that. And firefights, exchanged rifle fire a couple times, but not a lot. I mean, I've seen light combat, I mean, compared to most guys, especially the guys who were up around the DMZ. And, man, when I got wounded, I think I had about, I'd probably saved my life.
Do you think you killed anybody that night?
I don't know. I mean, how would you know? I mean, they weren't close like me to you.
Yeah.
Right? Or you know, I could, like when Brandy took those two NVA out, I mean, they come, yeah, I mean, I could see that, but I didn't do anything like that.
Was that the first engagement when the two Vietnamese charged you guys? Is that the first engagement you've seen?
Yeah, I think so. No, there was one before that.
What was the one before that?
One before that, there was a bunch, there was some NVA about maybe a football field or two away from us in the village. We started firing on, and they firing that back, and nobody got hit. And to the best of my knowledge, we never hit anybody.
So the first time you saw Americans kill the enemy was when they charged you in that village?
No, what Americans? They were NVA.
That's what I mean. They were charging you guys.
Yeah. Yep.
What did that feel like for you?
You know, yeah, in some ways it was exhilarating. Some ways it was.
To see it?
Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, I was like part of the team. I mean, it was just that was. I mean, that was it. I mean, I didn't do much for the team, but I was part of the team.
Did you think much about it
No.
afterwards?
No,
Later on in life?
no. And, to be honest with you, the stuff that, some of the stuff that I seen that fucking rocked me was stuff that happened later. I wasn't in combat, I mean, it was just the whole idea of the war, and I mean, I remember seeing those two guys who looked like dolls, dead dolls, right? But their legs are all contorted and shit.
Where was this?
It was the same episode.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, same episode. So if you're looking for a war hero, brother, I ain't the guy.
Well, I'm just fascinated in Vietnam. I mean, that was you guys and your generation. That was what really inspired me to become a SEAL and go overseas. For my generation's war.
Vietnam, baby.
So I just have a ton of respect for Vietnam vets.
Yeah, yeah. So I got a hell of a story. Once you're ready, you want to take a break or whatever?
Yeah, let's go into let's start where you got wounded, because you're a Purple Heart Vietnam recipient.
Yeah. So I go to one of the things I have. I've got a good memory, which is unusual. Me not remembering anything on that. So at that time, when me and Bryant were running an ammo over, I remember they carried me back, and they couldn't get a another night I had the guy got wounded. A point man hit a trap and was walking on the rice paddy dike, right? And I helped carry him back. And the reason we had to carry him back is because he was just, his legs were hurt, and he his legs were hurt, and he was obviously going to live. And the business of the war was really good some other place, and all the choppers were busy. At least that's what I was told. And when I was wounded, it's the same thing happened, right? Only I wasn't walking on a dike. I was walking on a path through a village. So I take and they get me to this road, and there's these two guys in a robe, and they just shoot me full of morphine, I think it was. And I mean, I didn't give a fuck about anything. And one interesting thing before that, which is a fun story before that, I take and I get sent back because I got caught in some barbed wire or something. I cut all my fucking fatigues up. I only had one pair. So the company gun, he sent me back to the rear that day, and he said to get a whole new set of fatigues and to get a haircut and then come on back.
A haircut?
Yeah, it did. I had that, get it all cut. So I take in, I go back, I get my hair cut, and then I go to where the fatigues are, and there's these two rear area guys who were in starch fatigues, and it's this big warehouse. And I said, I'm here to get some fatigues. And they said, well, you need a chit signed by the colonel. I said, well, where's the colonel? He said, well, he's up in Dong Ha, which is hundreds of miles north. And I said, well, I got to go back to the bush. And, and his pants are all ripped up. So they said, brother, they'll hang us if we give them to you. So we can't. So finally, after, it was useless arguing with those guys, I start walking back. And I go through this area where there's the Quonset huts. Well, it must have been there. One of them was there in one of the Quonset huts like it. I opened the door up, and I go in, and it's like fucking Candyland in there. So I take and open one of the lockers, and it's got a brand new set of fatigues in it. I try them on, they fit me. I take mine off, put them on a hanger, hang them in there, right? And then I go ahead and I look on one of the mattresses is a rubber lady, an air mattress. Not a rubber lady like you get at the bed shop, but, just a rubber lady. So I take all the air out of it, and then put it on my arm, and then I take and start with all my new pockets. I start stuffing Marlboros and Winstons in it because those motherfuckers would take all the Marlboros and Winstons and they'd send us out like L&Ms and Salems and Kents and nasty ass cigarettes.
All the shit.
So I go back, and these guys are saying, "Where the fuck you get that?" I said, "Never mind, I just got it." So I give them some cigarettes and so forth, and I blew that rubber lady up, and so I only had it for like 2 days, and then I got wounded. So I'm going away, and the guy says, "Hey Parsons, who gets your rubber lady?" I said, "You guys decide."
Nice. So let's talk about the day that you got wounded. In as much detail as you can remember.
All right. Well, the thing I remember the most is these guys driving me with no headlights on through these dirt roads, right, to get to the field hospital, and they had some country western music going. I remember that. They were singing. I thought they were fucking loaded, and I didn't really give a shit. But they were, as long as they were there taking me. So they take me to the field hospital, and immediately cut all my clothes off, and then they do a triage, and I guess they determined I was not seriously wounded, and then they put me inside this big tent. And it was cold as shit. It was so cold in that tent. And because it was going from outside, it was like 80, 90 degrees, inside 60, 70. So I remember they kept moving. I was laying on just a canvas cot, and they kept moving it closer, and they had all these buckets of water. And they put me on this X-ray machine. It's because I was wondering what the water was for. And when they took me off the X-ray machine, they washed it off. And then next thing I know, I was in surgery. I don't remember anything after that. Then next morning I wake up, bed is soaked, pissed all over it. And the corpsman says, "Don't worry, brother. We were just so busy we didn't have time to put a catheter in you." And so I put one in me, and then changed sheets, and then the colonel come over and said, "Congratulations, you're Purple Heart."
Wow. In the actual operation, the ambush that you were on, can you describe how you were wounded again?
Yeah, I hit a tripwire. Hit a tripwire. It was on the left side of me, and it caught my shrapnel here and in my left elbow. And I remember the surgeon saying, you had a big piece of shrapnel go into the joint and didn't damage it.
Wow.
So I was lucky. I was lucky as I can be.
Were you conscious the entire time?
No.
A
little bit, just a little bit.
For the explosion?
Oh, the explosion. Yeah, I was conscious most of the time. I didn't go out. Oh, I just remember when that fucking thing went off, and I went down on the ground. I turned to George, because I was learning to walk point then, and so Bryant was walking first. I was walking second, and I said, "Jesus Christ, it fucking hurts." and then it didn't so much, and then it did, and then they shot me with morphine, and then so forth. I didn't hear it so much as seen it, you know. I didn't know what happened at first. You're disoriented totally.
Did you think you were going to die?
No.
You knew you would live.
Oh, yeah, I thought it would. Thought I fucking would. Oh, God. And the guys I were with got pissed. They started fucking putting a Zippo to this village. And he says they got, George, the squad leader, got in a little bit of trouble for that. And he said he was in trouble. And then the North Vietnamese had a big push through the area that we were in. I wasn't in it no more, but we were in, and he forgave him because he's a good fucking Marine. Jesus Christ, he was good. Like about a couple days after, they set up on this bank in these reeds, and they seen a squad of NVA come through and started coming out of the water. They opened up on them. They killed them all. And then they were ordered by our captain, Captain Moorhead, to go all the way down to go about a mile or two out of sight, and then turn around and go, a couple clicks in, then come all the way back and reset up in the same spot. And they did. And when they did, an hour or two later, the rest of the company came through. And of course, these guys, being the fucking knuckleheads as they were, opened up on all of them. And then they said, George said, there was a fucking hell of a fight went on all night.
Damn.
And there was fucking a gunship was going around the fucking, and when the sun shone, he says there was bodies everywhere, and where there weren't bodies, there were drag marks, and
Wow.
Well,
Bob, let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll talk about your coming home.
we got to talk about the hospital first.
All right, we'll pick up at the hospital.
There you go, buddy.
Perfect. Let me tell you, I've had my Helix mattress that they sent me to try for years now, and it's really helped me sleep through the night and feel energized the next morning. And that energy gives me enough strength to get through my busy days. There's no question, I know I'm sleeping better with my Helix than with my old mattress, and it's helped my aches and pains and really improved my everyday life. Helix is an award-winning mattress brand, and they are recommended by many for improving sleep. They know everyone's unique, and they can match you based on your body type and sleep preferences. So what are you waiting for? For an exclusive offer for my listeners, go to helixsleep.com/SRS for 27% off site-wide, plus a free bedding bundle that includes a sheet set and a mattress protector with any Luxe or Elite mattress order. That's helixsleep.com/SRS for 27% off site-wide, plus a free bedding bundle that includes a sheet set and a mattress protector with any Luxe or Elite mattress order. helixsleep.com/SRS. If you ever feel like the modern world is wearing you down, things like EMFs, artificial light, seed oils, microplastics, chronic stress, it seems like our biology wasn't designed for these modern assaults, and it's probably taking a toll on all of us. Armor colostrum is a bioactive whole food that can help revive cellular signaling and help bolster our health from within. Colostrum is nature's finest whole food, packed with over 400 bioactive nutrients that work at a cellular level to help strengthen your immune health, help fortify gut health, and help kickstart your metabolism. I've been using Armra ever since they sent me some to try, and now I have a lot more energy. It's part of my daily routine now. I take it in the morning and after workouts. Are you ready to reclaim your health? We've worked out a special offer for my audience. Receive 15% off your first order. Go to tryarmora.com/SRS or enter SRS to get 15% off your first order. That's TRYARMRA.com/SRS. These statements and products have not been evaluated by the FDA. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or condition. All right, Bob, we're back from the break. We're picking up at the hospital.
Yep. Well, I'm back at the hospital, and think about a military hospital. In wartime, you see a lot of fucked up dudes, boy. And man, it's just really, really screwed up. Seen this young kid was a Marine recon, and he was out on some long distance LRP, they called it, or something like that, long distance
Reconnaissance,
yeah, and he hit a bouncing Betty. You know, it's the only time I've heard of one or heard of anybody hitting one, but I heard about them all the time, but never actually anybody, falling victim. But that's what he fell victim to. And, bouncing Betty, it's a rocket on the inside of a pressure plate. You tread on it. As soon as you tread on it, as soon as the weight goes off, that rocket's coming up. And you're fucked. There's just all there is to it. And it blew his ass off. And he was completely paralyzed. And the guys would take turns. He was sandwiched between two boards and a device that had a opening for his groin, and this was his tail. And we would take turns turning comic book pages for him. And I felt so sorry for that guy. And I mean, and other stuff you'd see, it's just so fucked up. Thing I remember one of the hardest thing is about that. I mean that whatever brought the war home, that did. I mean, you spend some time in a military hospital, you'll see. And Navy lost my payroll records, so I couldn't go off base. I used to say to some of the guys, I had to have some civilian clothes and some money to go off base. And I'd say, can you loan me some money and your civvies? And so I could go on liberty. He says, I like you, man, but not that much. Oh, God.
Jeez. I read somewhere, or maybe I saw it on an interview, I can't remember, that you think that you had a guardian angel.
I did.
Why did you think that?
So many things happened that I could come out okay. Another time we're in a firefight in a village, right? Again, nobody's hit, nobody's in anything. Me and this dude named Pavlovich, we go into this hooch, searching for Christ knows what. And in there is one of these little tables. And it's a long table. It's about maybe 4 feet, 5 feet, 4 feet tall. And on it is a bowl, one bowl. And in the bowl was an undetonated tonk round from the night before, when we had this guy named Cook. And Cook was one of these guys go to jail or join the Marine Corps for stealing cars. And so he, that's back when the Marine Corps was doing what it could to, fill the ranks. And so anyhow, he fired it, didn't go off. Somehow landed there. But our boy, Pavlovich, moved his fat ass and tipped the bowl. And they had this wooden floor put in, this kind of a crappy wooden floor on the altar, and this thing hit the wood, didn't explode. Motherfucker. Now, that got my attention. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I go outside, and I go, there's no way I'm going back in there, period. And so Cook goes back in there, and they used to have on the helmets, they'd have these big black rubber bands, right, pieces of rubber, and they would keep bug repellent, bug juice in them, right? Well, Cook put the dud M79?
Holy shit! He put an unexploded round.
Yeah, was it M79?
Yeah, it was the M79.
Yeah, so he puts the M79 round in it, and we're walking back, and you could see you got about three guys, and then one guy watching him, and he's back about maybe 20 yards. And then 20 yards, the next closest guy, and he's walking with this thing on his head. I kept waiting for his head to just...
Holy shit. And he made it.
He made it.
What the rest of the time with that damn thing?
Oh, fuck, yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Well, let's talk about... I mean, I am curious. I mean, is there... Do you feel like you had a relationship with the guardian angel?
I did, and I still do. It's just stuff I've come out of. Like for example, I'll give you this. Okay, I'm on Okinawa, and I get sent to Okinawa to get processed back to Vietnam, back to the unit. And there's been a couple of months, or maybe 3 months. And I really don't know, but it was around then. Okay, so I take and get to be this doctor there. Got to be friendly with me. I thought he was a good dude, and when I got to the point where all my wounds were healed, I said to him, I said, Doc, I'm ready to go back, And he said, you're ready to go back? He says, Parsons, you don't have to go back. He says, I'll keep you here for the rest of the war. And I said, no, I want to go back. I want to be with those guys. I mean, they were my family, right? I loved them more than I ever loved a lot of mine. I mean, we were closer. Even though it was just a month. So he said, okay. And he signed off. And the day that my orders come through to leave for the next day, my payroll record showed up. And so he said, go off base. Enjoy yourself. They might have given me $700-800. I don't know how much they gave me. Might as well have been, 20,000. Okinawa beer was $1. It's just do anything you want. I mean, it's just a lot of money. So I take in. You might have figured out by now. I'm never much of a rule follower. Yeah, you figured that out.
I'm figuring that out.
Okay, all right. So I go off base. I'm supposed to be back at midnight. It's about 3 a.m. And I'm walking down the street, and it's raining like hell. It's almost coming down sideways. And there's a guy walking back up the other way, coming right towards me. It's Blackwell. It's that guy I saved during the first night.
Are you serious?
Dead serious. And he told me that was his third heart, and he didn't have to go back. So he was in G2, which is orders and all that sort of stuff, intelligence. And he said, I can get you. The guy that runs this little printing press and goes back and forth and delivers orders, I can get you that job. He says, because the company Gunny and I are tight. And he said, and, by then I think he was staff sergeant. And he says, I'll get it done. And he says, when do you go back? And I said, I'm supposed to 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. And this is like 3 a.m. He says, I don't think I can get it done that soon. And I said, brother, that's okay. That's okay, because I was kind of looking forward to seeing the guys anyhow. So, we part. I tell him where I'm at, so forth. We part, and he goes this way, I go mine. And I go back, immediately get arrested. They take me to the officer of the day. And the officer of the day goes, he's this young second lieutenant that's got the shit jobs, talking to buttheads like me. And he's going, why can't you be back? And I said, I'm going back. I was in Vietnam, and I always wanted to, I got to go back tomorrow, and I lost track of time. And he goes, get him the fuck out of here. So they take me back, and I fall asleep. I slept for maybe an hour, and then I fall out with the hangover from BG's hell. And I had orders stationed in me back. Blackwell got it done.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, that happened. I mean, to me, we're like the 5th grade. I mean, it's like, repeatedly have happened like that. And I think my angel's there.
Still to this day.
Yeah, I think so. I think hopefully I'll meet him or her or it, and it'd be kind of nice one day. I know whenever I meet her, he's going to look more exhausted than I do.
Oh, man.
I get a picture just going, fuck. I was going to take the night off.
Let's talk about coming home.
Coming home was hard. I'll tell you what I did. When I had just about 2 months left, they disbanded my unit I was with, and 9th Marine Amphibious Brigade, and marched. Didn't send them home. Sent the guys in it that were coming in, the new guys, transferred them all to that unit, and they all went over to Vietnam, right? And this unit, the guys coming home, they put them in this unit, and they brought it home. So it was like they brought it home, but they didn't. It was a farce. Did you follow me there?
Yeah.
Okay, so I take in. I get sent over to I get sent over for processing, where I get processed to go back to Vietnam. Now, I didn't want to go back then, and the reason I didn't want to go back then is because I had been in touch with the guys. I had seen them. They were on a helicopter ship just offside Barrier Island. And they, I told them, I said, guys, I had put two requests to go back, to transfer, to leave this unit that I was in, because I wanted to be with them so fucking bad. And Blackwell left. He left, and he says, I says, why? He says, I says, goodbye. I said, you going home? He says, yeah, I wish. He says, I'm going to go back. And he says, I can't stand it here. He says, at least I understand it there. I'll see you, buddy. And so anyhow, I take in both times the company gunny that he told me about. My request to transfer got approved by everybody and gets to him. He calls me in his office, rips it up, says you get yourself killed, and never got approved. And so I was getting ready to go back, but I didn't want to be with a bunch of new guys. I want to be with them, right? So I'm in the processing area, and this place is like a zoo. And this is one lieutenant, first lieutenant, and then he's running around like you don't know what's going on. So I go over to him. I said, Lieutenant, I could do this job. You need some help here. And I said, and I'm going to rotate a couple months anyhow. And he said, all right, you got the job. He said, where's your ID? And I give it to him. He says, okay, I get it all taken care of. So I went right away and started processing guys. And what I would do was I would take guys and put them on planes that were coming back and so they could go home. And guys that were coming there, I would confirm their units. And one of the things that bothered me so much is I would see these guys that were like assigned to 9th Marines and guys going up around the Z and it's just, I mean, there was no place there that was a walk in the park for the Marine Corps, but there were some places that were much worse. Mm-hmm. And while I wasn't that much older than these guys, if I was older than them at all, I had the experience, which aged me a bit. And I also, from being intelligence and knowing what was actually going on there, I would just look at these guys and I'd feel terrible. I mean, I would feel terrible because they had this little tinge, where they're a little excited and so forth, and they're walking straight into fucking hell.
Man.
Yeah. So I remember that, and then time went up, and I went home. And then when we went home, it was a different place than when we left. When we left, people were they were a little uncertain about the war, but they weren't like they were when we came home. There wasn't anybody taking it out on the guys coming home, throwing shit and with signs and names. Nazi, murderer, right? Drug addict. And yeah, ironic, the fucking in our war crowd calling us drug addicts, those fucking dope addicts, and on and on and on, and baby killer, don't forget baby killer, and then on and on. So, I mean, it's just, and then those of us that weren't confronted with that, we see it on the news anyhow. So, it just feel like your soul coming out of your chest.
Yeah.
And, at the time, I knew it bothered me, but I didn't think it bothered me to the extent that it did. Because I got to the point where I had people come up to me and they'd say, hey, weren't you in the Marine Corps in Vietnam? Sean, I start crying. That's when you fucked up. And so, and then one of the things that I found, I was doing the book, and I took some mushrooms, psychedelic mushrooms, when I was working on the book, and I had a flashback. I had a flashback, baby, and it was a flashback, not to Vietnam, but to when I was in troop processing. Seeing those guys. I mean, it bothered me to the core. And I, I'll never say haven't cried. I have, but I've never cried like that. And then I don't cry over it again since. I mean, it purged me somewhat. So anyhow, and then I just went to work in a steel mill, shoveled steel, and it was a hard job. And then I got another job, applied for a job as an apprentice, machinist apprentice. And this guy they set me up to hire was this old guy named Roy. That it was with the union so long that he had tenure. He couldn't be fired no matter what. And the guy wouldn't talk to me. And I'd say anything to him. He'd say, "Leave me alone." And he would set his machine up every day. So he was running this huge turret lathe, right? So he was milling down these lathes for ships, seagoing liners, right? To do propeller shafts. And it'd come all the way up, but never touch it, just go back and forth. And my job was to help him. and so after a couple months of this, I went to, I seen an ad by the University of Baltimore where I could go there with the GI Bill and I didn't have to take any of the entrance exams. My high school grades didn't matter. I mean, I couldn't have got into Harvard with an AR. So I went to the University of Baltimore. I go into the registrar's office and I said to him, I want to register for college. He said, "What do you want to major in?" I don't know. I said, "Well, nobody in my family went to college." So I went, he says, "Go see this counselor." And I did. And it was a huge line to see this guy. I'd have been just getting to see him today if I got into it. I mean, I never got to see him. And so I went back and the guy at the registrar's office says, you can if you can sign a waiver, you can pick your own major. I said, "Why didn't you tell me that?" I said, "You have a list of majors?" He gave me a book. I opened it up. First one, accounting. I said, "What's accounting?" He said, "Well, do you like numbers?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "You go with math?" I said, "Reasonably." Says, "You're interested in business?" "Yeah." Says, "You should make sure in accounting." So that's what I did. And, had I opened it up backwards, I'd have been a zoologist. And I said to him, "Sure." And it got to be a very fortuitous choice because I loved it. And it was, very solitary. I like that. And I graduated magna cum laude.
Wow.
I'm now one of the school's biggest benefactors.
Wow.
He said, "Me."
Man, what a curve.
Yeah.
What a curve.
So I did that, and I went to,
What was it like for you in school as a combat veteran at that time?
You didn't talk about it.
You didn't want anybody to know?
No. It wasn't that you didn't want anybody to know, you just didn't talk about it. Nobody asked you about it.
Did you stay close with your guys that you'd served with?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Many of them live close?
No. I mean, one guy lives in New Hampshire, another guy lives in the mountains of Pennsylvania. He was the other guy that hit the trap. He lives in the mountains of Pennsylvania. Another guy, two of them live in Florida. Another one lives in Iowa. And Brownie, the rascal, he lives in Austin.
How did you get through? It sounds like that was the hardest part for you coming home.
Was.
And so, there's a lot of veterans today that are dealing with similar issues and can't fit back into society. How'd you get through it?
Well, the thing I did was I worked hard, and I buried myself in my work. Everybody that has any degree of PTSD self-medicates in some way, shape, or form. I think they do, my self-medication was always my work and my studies. So I turned things around when I was in college, and then when I eventually I worked for a firm that Commercial Credit Leasing Corp. Worked for them, and they would send me to schedule the assets of companies they were looking to buy. And then I'd schedule the assets, schedule the leases, and then come home. And this was in the 70s. And what I did one day, another fortuitous thing, was I was looking at this company in Redwood City, California, and I was going to get my work done, and I had a 12-hour layover until I was had to catch a flight. And so I wound up on a Stanford campus, and I went to the bookstore, and I bought a book on how to program in the basic computer language, and I bought it, and went to the airport. Matter of fact, first I went to Fisherman's Wharf, and looked at a charcoal, and showed this little Chinese kid lighting the firework, and a bunch of other kids standing by, some older kids holding their hands over the little kids' ears, and they're all grimace, and it's just wonderful. The guy just caught it. Artist named Wai Ming, and I asked the guy said to me, he said, this is about so forth. I said, how much is it? He said, 10,000. And I mean, it might as well have been 10 million. And so I said, see you later. And by the way, when I did the deal on Parsons Technology, I bought that painting.
No kidding.
I tracked it down, baby.
Where is it?
I have it in my bedroom, and I see it every day.
Nice.
Yeah. And not only I bought the original is now in a museum. I bought an artist's lithograph or so forth, which is, I'm told, the best you can get, and it didn't cost nearly 10 grand, but the memory is what matters.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyhow, I read the book, or the salient parts of the book, while I was waiting, and wrote my first couple programs on the way back. And based on that book, I taught myself how to program. And I eventually switched to the Pascal language, sold my Apple computer and bought an IBM, and then started my first business, which was called Parsons Technology.
Wow. Just going back, you had mentioned everybody with PTSD self-medicates one way or another.
I think so.
How were you self-medicating?
I buried myself in my work.
No drugs, no antidepressants, booze, none of that.
Just work, baby. Work. And then when I first started getting Parsons Technology off the ground, I wrote the code for a program that would take care of home finances. I called it Money Counts, and it got to be pretty good. And then I quit my job. I was working. I started this leasing division for this company, and if I had stayed there, this was like October. Had I stayed there through the end of the year, I'd have got $50,000. Would have got a bonus. I quit, and the reason I quit was I figured I had just enough time if I worked hard to write a tax software program, do a 1040, and I got it done. But to get it done, I would work 60-hour shifts. I would come in to work, let's say 8 a.m. Monday morning, worked 8 a.m. Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Wednesday morning, and then work half a day. And when I say half a day, I meant half a day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I would know I needed to stop by the reason I needed to stop was because I start to hallucinate. I'd liable to see a dragon walk across my desk.
Holy shit. So you buried yourself in work, started your technology company. I mean, I think a lot of people, just from my generation, I feel like entrepreneurship is I feel like it's the only segue, to really bury yourself into and to kind of leave what am I trying to say here? You have to be willing to, for me, myself, a Navy SEAL, a CIA contractor, that's just some shit that I did. And it took me a long time to people expect a certain body style, a certain attitude, a certain demeanor, when you are in those type of communities and warfighting communities, and it's almost like a fucking trap that you're in. And it wasn't until that I had discovered entrepreneurship and started doing what I love, like you were saying at the very beginning, that I started getting better and I started putting more importance on what I'm building rather than the past, and eventually coming to the realization that I'm not a SEAL, I'm not a CIA contractor. That's just some shit that I did, and this is who I am now. And I mean, did you find that when you became an entrepreneur?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that was the only thing I was interested. I talked about. I mean, I don't think I owned a Marine Corps cap. I mean, anything like that. And not that I denied it. I didn't.
Yeah.
If somebody wanted to talk to me about it, I talked to them about it. But that wasn't going to, take care of my family, put them where they needed to be, and so forth. To me, that was the only way.
What got you interested in coding? Was this a random book on a shelf and you just decided, hey, I'm going to take a peek at this?
Yep.
Especially back, did you say the 70s?
75.
Wow. So you buy a book on coding, you read it, you work 3.5 days a week, and then you build this entire empire.
Eventually, yeah.
How long did it take you to get traction on your business?
On Parsons Technology. That first year I did the tax software.
In 1 year?
1 year? Well, no. I was doing it for a couple of 3 years before that, because it took a while to build it and know how I wanted to do it and what I wanted to do for the software to be right, and it couldn't be buggy and on and on. I couldn't make my lemonade with vinegar anymore, right? Yeah. So anyhow, all those things, I needed to have things just so. Yeah, and so it took about 3 years. 3 years for that. And so that third year, when I got the tax software done, I made $250,000 that year. I never seen that kind of money in my life. $250,000. I mean, yeah, $257,000.
Wow.
The next year, I made $2.5 million. The next year, I made $5 million. Next year, I made $7 million. I mean, and then it's just, I mean, I've never missed too much since.
How did you get it out there? I mean, was it just you?
Yeah.
It was just you.
Just you and my wife.
So you built it. How did you?
Magazine ads.
You bought magazine ads.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I was spending, early on, I was spending $55,000 a month on advertising. You know.
How early on?
Well, this is my third year.
I mean, your ads, your GoDaddy ads were phenomenal.
You know.
Did you come up with those?
Yeah. Me and a group of other people together. Yeah, together.
So you got a knack for marketing and advertising as well.
More of that than anything.
What was the first ad?
The first ad for what?
For Parsons Technologies.
Okay. Yeah, first ad. And let me tell you how I bought it. Okay. I'm in the basement. And I'm still working the other job. And I have this magazine call me. And they say, now, one of the things I always did, always pay my bills. Always paid them. And they said, taken, let me see. Okay, they called me. It was called a computer bargain line out of Fort Dodge, Iowa. And this was a rag. I mean, one of them little rags would look like a magazine cover. I mean, a cheap magazine cover. And inside it'd be like print, like newsprint, and it'd have different stuff for sale, cheap, all sorts of deals, right? And that's what it was. So they said, we have on the outside front cover, we've got that ad. It's normally like $12,000, $14,000. If you can get me creative in a couple of 3 days, it's $5,000. Now, so they thought I had money. I never had the money. So I took it and I said, I'll let you know in the morning. So I looked at it and I said, called my wife and I said, I just got a feeling that this could be it. So I said, let's do it. And then I said, and if it turns out it busts, because every ad I ever had run up to that point was a bust. So we decided to do it. And I pay, I get in a local ad firm, and they do an ad, and I sold my software. I had sold it for like $99, $79, $69, on and on and on and on. Now, I was selling it for $12 on this ad, $12. And then it said no shipping, no, it's not copy protected. Remember copy protection?
Mm-hmm.
It says it's not copy protected. It's not copy protected. It's you know, there's used to have agreements that you had to be part of if you used it that would signal that you know, you could only use it like a bulk. You couldn't make copies and give it to people, on and on and on. I said in mine, you do anything you want, just send me $12, right? So the ad said money counts, but it only costs $12. Send it.
Blew it out of the water.
Right? Well, first couple days, I mean, after the magazine come out, there wasn't anything. And then there wasn't anything. And then there was, you know, half a dozen orders, then a dozen. And then you ever see these ads where you see the mailbox is stuffed with orders and checks? And that's the way it looked. And then there was a box. They had to set a box next to it. And so, oh my God, I think I made 20 grand on that ad. And then I took my wife and I and the kids, we took and did a mailing, and we broke every direct mail rule there was, just mailed place had that ad printed up and mailed it to everybody on that ever inquired. Sent us, we got a 30% return.
Wow.
So then I took in, I think I added a $3 shipping charge, didn't matter. Then I made it $16 instead of $12 and made the shipping charge $5 and left it that way for a couple of years. And I would get big ads made up in all the big magazines. And that's how Parsons Technology made it.
How long was it before, with Parsons Technologies, how long was it before you started hiring people?
It was right after I quit my job. Right after I quit my job, actually before that a little bit, and my wife would have some of the neighbor ladies would help her, and they'd all be down there taking orders, and they'd all have their hair in curlers and shit, a dungeon. It was, they did a good job, and they were happy. They made some money. I was happy. I was launching this company, and then eventually I had, oh my God, I had 1,000 employees. And
holy shit.
Yeah.
1,000 employees?
Yeah, it might have been 500. I have to think about it.
And then you sold it.
I sold it to Intuit. My wife and I, we got together. We decided we would sell it for $40 million if we were ever offered it. And Intuit offered me 60. I knew enough to tell him I was insulted. And but most I could get him up to was 64. So I sold it for $64 million.
Wow. And in what time frame?
10 years.
10 years.
I started it in 84, sold it in 94.
Well, I mean, where did you learn your business sense? Just comes naturally to you?
Selling lemonade.
Selling lemonade.
It's just working, trying to make a living.
How long was it after you sold Parsons Technologies that you started GoDaddy?
95, 96.
What time frame is that between the two?
Couple years.
Just a couple of years?
Yeah.
What was the inspiration for GoDaddy?
Really, there was none. It sounds crazy. What happened was when I did the deal with Parsons Technology. After that, my wife didn't want to be married anymore. And to be honest with her, I wouldn't be married to me anymore either. So she finally she took all she could, and then she fucking booted my ass. So I moved to Phoenix or Scottsdale, so I could work and I had a non-compete assigned. I had to honor it. Only their non-compete was I couldn't work, period. So I honored it. And when that thing came came up, I just started working and started my own job. Started to start a company, and I like being in the hunt. I like being out in the business stream. I like doing stuff. I like being active and like having myself on the line, right? And
you like the risk.
Yeah, I like that. And so, and I like the risk, but not too much risk. So I started that And at the time, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew the internet was going to be something. I knew that was going to be an area where there was going to be opportunity. So what I did was, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know exactly what. So I hired about maybe 10 or 15 people. And we tried a bunch of things. I named the company Joe Max Technologies, believe it or not, after a dirt road. Now, why did I name it after a dirt road? Name didn't matter. We didn't do anything. I would send people they would go to a business meeting at the Chamber of Commerce, and people would ask you, "What do you do?" And they said, "We don't know yet." And I said, I have never talked to anybody that don't know what they do. And so,
Who did you hire? I mean, if you didn't know what you wanted to do and you just knew that you wanted to be in the internet business at some capacity, how do you even know who to look for?
well, I just would look for people that were looking for work.
Any particular job description or?
Not really. Not really. I mean, people that knew a little bit about tech and that sort of thing, and they were the people that I hired, and some of them actually were with me till the last day. Not many of them, but some of them. And so I went ahead and we tried all sorts of things. We tried building intranets, extranets. We tried doing education. We tried selling other people's software, tried selling hardware. None of that stuff worked, but one thing worked. And the one thing that worked was building websites. We could build websites and make some money, not a lot, make some money. And the money that we made when we would start doing these websites, there was one problem with them though, and that is they didn't scale. You had to do the work of building a website in order to make the money. And so what we did was we built a software program called we called it Website Complete. Was the very first one. It was one of the first companies and the guys in the world to do this, and that would be you could take and do just put some fill in the blanks and this and that, and this thing would write the code for a website. Very primitive, but you'd have a website. Mm-hmm. So it would do that. And then the next step was where things looked like they were going to. Joe, is every website needs a domain name, needs an address, needs a SeanRyan.com, right? So then what we did was, I found that I went to all the website companies, all the domain companies, and they were all a pain in the ass to deal with. So we had one of our engineers went ahead and just filled the applications to do that for us, so we could become a domain name registrar, and not in the domain name. A domain name registrar is not in the sense where you take and you have to buy a bunch of domain names to resell, although you could do that. What it's more like the DMV selling vanity license plates. Once you get a vanity license plate at the DMV, it's yours as long as you pay the annual fee. Mm-hmm. Well, that's the way domain names work, right? The only difference is you have companies that can do that, and they're called domain name registrars. So we started doing that, and then what happened was the .com boom. And the .com boom, there was so much noise for the .com boom, nobody didn't even pay attention to you. Yeah, not even close. And so I mean, the noise you could see, like these stupid Super Bowl ads, where they were playing a piano like chopsticks, and because they didn't have time to run an ad, but they bought it, and I mean, make an ad and stuff like that, and it got to the point where it just got to be stupid, and then what happened was when I did that, I had about 38 million. I split it with my wife. She deserved every nickel she got. And I moved to Arizona. Best move I ever made. And I then worked on making this company work and renamed it GoDaddy. And then the way that came about was, I was just the name Joe Max Technologies. It's just very forgettable, means nothing. GoDaddy doesn't mean much more, but at least it's fun and easy to remember. And so me and a gal that I still work with, we come up with that one night. After about a third night, we tried it. It's Fat Daddy, taken. Big Daddy, taken. GoDaddy. Using the AOL go keyword and the word daddy available. Bought it for $8.95.
Damn.
Yeah. And so that's what I did. And I started with 38 million, and then I started losing money. And I said, I'm not going to worry about this company till I get down to 30 million. Then I said, 20 million, 15 million. I don't know why. I'm sorry, I'm choking up here.
No, it's all fine. There's a lot of pollen out.
So anyhow, so I decided it's gonna till I get down to 15 million, then 12. Then 10, then 8, and I think 8 or 6, I decided I'm going to close the company down because it didn't look like there was no balls chance in hell of this company ever making the turn. And then so what I did was I sold my original company. Sold all the furniture and stuff, had really nice furniture, stupid. Furniture don't make you no money, and bought a horse farm, an area where it was legal for breeding horses, but it wasn't legal for developing software. That's fucked up sauce. Phoenix is, right? So I bought this big sign. I had it painted, called it the GoDaddy Ranch. Put it right on the wall, and then I decided I went to Hawaii by myself, and I was going to decide how I was going to shut it down, how I was going to pay any severance, how I was going to pay my creditors, and then what I was going to do. So I went to Hawaii. I went to Hawaii. I was in the epiphany happened. More and more I was there. I didn't want to shut it down. Epiphany happened where all of a sudden, one day, this guy comes up to me and, he's happy as can be. Throw the keys in here. Hey, Miss Parsons. And I said, oh, I'm doing great, buddy. And I think this guy's parking cars, probably has nothing, right? He's the happiest guy in the world. I got $6 or $8 million, so I'm miserable. Now, what's wrong with this picture? So I decided at that point to go back home and not shut it down. And if the company goes broke, I'll go broke with it. I decided I could always park cars. But then I decided, you know what? I'm not a big-time gambler, but I like craps. I said, I'll go to Vegas and just work on a table. It sounds like a fun life. So I would do that. And then this is about January, February, and then October or maybe later that year, the dot-com crash happens. And when the dot-com crash happened, GoDaddy was born. And then I had, instead of guys waiting in line instead of not refusing to sell me anything at any price, every week, at least one or two companies we're doing business with vanished. Vanished, disappeared, fucking gone, baby. You don't even know where they were, no forwarding address, gone. And so we just, things started, instead of us trying to, buy advertising, I have guys standing in line to give it to me.
Damn.
And then so we take, and then in October, we wait, and we turned the company. We became cash flow positive, and never missed a month since.
Well, for somebody that was just telling me
Now tell me I don't have an angel.
Mitigated risk, you just went from 38 million down to 6 to 8 million.
Yeah, well, that's because I'm a knucklehead.
The valet Parker decided is the one that made the decision for you of, hey, fuck it, I'm gonna do this. Go back, willing to lose everything, the rest of your money, and then you blow GoDaddy out of the water.
Yeah. Yep. And so held GoDaddy until 2011, and sold 71% for $2.3 billion.
Damn.
And then sold the other 29% for almost $2 billion.
Wow.
Yeah, so.
Wow.
Not bad for a young guy from East Baltimore.
Not too bad. Not too bad, I would say. You've done well.
Yeah, so anyhow, the ads they all happened. They were just funny as shit how that came about.
I love them.
You want me to tell you the genesis, how that happened?
Yes.
So I'm running GoDaddy, and I am never quite sure why our business just stalls, where we got a 16% market share worldwide. I said, we got the best prices, we got the best systems, we got the fairest policies, we got the best customer service. What are these other dogs? Why are they still writing business? So I hired a market research firm, and to kind of look at it for us, and they come back with an answer. They said, the reason those people aren't doing business with you is because those people don't know you exist. You only advertise on the internet. These people are only reachable on direct media. On conventional media. So what I did was, that was in August, I said, all right, well, you know what? I had a $10 million war chest built up, and I decided the Super Bowl was right around the corner. Let's make a Super Bowl ad.
Damn.
And then, you see, the Super Bowl ad back then would cost you $3 million. Cost you way more than that now. Cost you like 10, 12, something like that. Maybe far more. So, but anyhow, so what we would do is we took and I could not understand how you would get people's attention, people to look at your ad and people want to buy, because they're at a Super Bowl party. Your ad is only on for 30 seconds, right? And then after 30 seconds, they they're talking, they're drinking cocktails. Some are, some aren't. They're certainly kibitzing all this. A lot of them aren't even paying attention to the television and all that. How you going to capture their attention? And then one day I was with my second wife, and I'm watching television, and I seen an ad from Mike's Hardlime aid, and I knew. And what the ad was, you got 3 really good-looking women at the end of a bar. right? And catty corner to them is this guy. He's got his hunched over his Mike Hard limeade, and he's got a little bit of drop in the bottom. And he's looking around, and instead of him, holding it up and letting it run down, he sticks a 12-inch tongue down and swirls it around, and then pulls it back. And the bartender says, "Ladies, what do you have?" And they point to him and go, "We like one of those." And I said, "That is it, baby." Oh God. I said, "That is it." And so we did our first ad. We did a spoof on the GoDaddy girl. She didn't even have a name then. The media named her the GoDaddy girl. And we named her, and she was at a hearing by a Super Bowl board of censors or whatever she was, and they were kind of trying to decide if they're going to approve her being in an ad, and she was going to be she was going to be in an ad, and it was just hilarious because the guy running the whole show, his name was Booth Coleman. I think he's since passed, but he was an older guy, and he says, "Oh, ma'am, what are you going to do, on the game?" And she stands up and she goes, "I could do something like this," and her tank top strap snaps, and it was a spoof on Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake, right? And she stops it. And it doesn't go all the way. So you see nothing. And you look at it, it's filmed at a distance. See things at a blurred the cleavage, on and on and on. A lot of the ad is shot from behind. So Fox News said they would do the ad. And then when we sent them the actual ad, they said, "No way." And so, they said, we had guys with me said, "Well, why don't you just say they denied it? And you can, people might want to see the ad that didn't get approved." No, I wanted to run it because I had bigger aspirations. So anyhow, we went ahead and do all that to minimize the ad, shoot it from the distance, and on and on. And so he's taking oxygen, and I had a line in there that said, where there's a woman up there on the dais with Booth, and she says, "Those are not real." And then so I had to change it. She'd say, "May I suggest a turtleneck?" And so anyhow, they approve it. And 3 days before the Super Bowl, they call me back and they say, "You want to buy another spot?" And I said, "Really?" And they go, "Yeah, we got a spot open just before the Super Bowl. And it could be a very good ad or a very big, very great ad." And I think it was Buffalo playing Philly or something like that, or Patriots. But whoever it was, one of them was on the 1 yard line just when they did the 2-minute warning. This ad was gold. And then our ad doesn't run. And and we would wait, maybe it's the next ad, maybe it's the next ad, maybe it's the next. Never our ad. Our ad never runs. So I get a hold of the president of Fox Sports, and I asked him what happened. He said, "Your ad was out of tenor with the rest of the ads. We had to pull it."
Was out of what?
Yeah.
It was out of what?
He said it was out of tenor.
What does that mean?
It means it shouldn't have been approved. All right, I know, I felt the same way. But I turned around to my buddy that, he's my chief of staff, and I said to him, "Can we be this lucky? could we be this lucky? That never happened before. So what they run instead of our ad, I'll tell you what they run. They run a picture of Simpsons and Bart Simpson, right? He goes in and he's stabbing a baby in a crib.
That's what they run?
much more acceptable than a breast. so anyhow, that's what happened. So I get in touch with the president of Fox Sports, and so here's what happens. He takes and he we go back and forth because we had our attorneys working on it and so forth. And so we got a deal. We got to deal with them. So I don't have to pay for the ad that didn't run. I don't have to pay for the ad that did run. And, life is good. I mean, basically, the market share worked. It went from 16% to 25% a year and held. All right. So, I mean, it was just great. So anyhow, so we take and I'm there sitting them at the table, and these guys are on a conference call, and I know ask for anything, I'll get it. Anything, I'll get it. I can't think of anything. I can't think of anything. So here's what I think of. You ready for this? It was the best I could do. I said, tell you what, give me a game ball from 2 game balls from every Super Bowl, and we got a deal. And they go, done.
Oh man. Wow.
And that's how it came about.
Yeah. Damn.
So the media named her the GoDaddy girl. Bill, it's just funny how it all came together.
Then you got a NASCAR, or I'm sorry, not a NASCAR, an IndyCar, correct?
IndyCar with Danica Patrick. I was playing golf with her Sunday, by the way.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So
are you guys pretty close?
She's a buddy of mine, and so it was me, my wife, and her, and another friend, and I had a nice time.
Are you into racing?
No.
How did that come about?
Well, I was up in the Arctic, and I was hunting, and I was talking to the 2 guides, and these guys, I mean, they're nowhere, and they were talking about the Indy 500, Danica Patrick, and I said, "Wow, she's young, she's in a man's sport, she is drawing a lot of attention." I said, she ought to be our spokesperson. So we reached out, we hired her, and then we were partners for 8 years.
Wow.
Yeah, 8 years. And she's now a member of my club, Scottsdale National. And good time.
I'll bet. What were you hunting up there?
Grizzly.
Grizzly?
Yeah.
Did you get one? So you sold Parsons Technologies, then you immediately started another company, then you sold ownership of GoDaddy, and then you move into golfing.
Golf. Yeah. Golf and motorcycles.
How much time was it? I mean, by this time, you're a multi-billionaire. What? I guess I'm just curious. Why do you keep moving into new business ventures?
Why not? I'll ask you.
I mean, I'm addicted to it. I love entrepreneurship.
Yeah,
I love business.
Yeah, I like it too.
Keeps me going.
I haven't worked for anybody since 1984. I just worked hard.
I mean, it's just you hit a point where You don't need anything more.
Yeah, my wife and I, we move $1 million to charity every other week.
Every 14 days.
Yep, every 14 days. And I think we've given a total of a couple $100 million, I know. Oh, and we help the Semper Fi Fund. And then $10 million a year. We just crossed $120 million a year with them. I mean, $120 million with them. And, when it's all said and done, probably it'll all go to charity.
I think that's amazing that you do that. And that's something I try to do here. I showed you all this stuff around the room, and we've brought a lot of my friends on that have started nonprofits and psychedelics and healing and mostly combat stress type stuff. And I mean, I just enjoy like watching them succeed from not, you're gonna be careful how I say this because they built everything. I'm just a conduit to the public. I'm the advertiser, I guess, is the way you'd see it. And the traction that they get after they come on this show is just, it's tremendous. And it just makes me feel good to watch them succeed with all the exposure. And I think I'd read, was it 19 million you've donated to psychedelic research? And how do you, I guess what I'm asking is, the nonprofit game is tricky. You really got to make sure that you're finding people that are doing the right things. And I'll line people up for sometimes a year before I bring them on to make sure, like, hey, is this money going to what it needs to go to? And is this guy, I really enjoy finding people that are just really grinding it out. And I don't know, I guess I see myself in them. And I didn't have anybody to lift me up. And so I guess what I'm asking is every 14 days you're donating another $1 million. How do you find these people that resonate with you, or the companies that resonate with you, the nonprofits?
Well, I have a staff at our foundation. That's run by a very sharp lady by the name of Laura Mitchell. And she's been in that particular end of business for a long time, been with me a long time. And and she has staff, so they sort it out. If you're in a foundation, you're giving away money, your product, everybody likes it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you do have to be careful. And but what we do is, giving the money to the whatever the organization is that we're donating money to is only part of the contract. We're also in touch with them monthly, and they're assigned an individual from our foundation to be in touch with them and to, help them in any way that they can, and to also report back to us when the next time comes to where they knock on our door, if they did what they said they were going to do.
What's your success rate?
You mean that of
that of nonprofits that follow through with it?
Overall, close to 100%. And do I have little disagreements along the way? Yeah. But I'm there to work it out. I'm not there to, it's different than buying a pair of shoes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's amazing. You're a great person for doing that.
Well, thank my wife, and there you go.
Right on. So how did you get into the golf industry?
I decided to do it. I bought Scottsdale National, and that was first thing. When I did the GoDaddy deal, I decided I was going to buy either a football team or a really nice golf course. And praise the Lord, thank my angel, I bought a golf course. So I love it. Do you play golf?
I'm not any good.
Oh, who is? Nobody's any good.
Danica Patrick's pretty good, isn't she?
She has her moments. Yeah, she has her moments. But, I bought Scottsdale National. It's just one of these deals where it became available. It is right now, it is 730 acres in prime real estate in Scottsdale, surrounded on three sides by, 3 million acres of land.
Wow.
Government set aside. Has one house on the property. You guessed it.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Well, Bob, let's take a quick break. And then when we come back, I want to dive into psychedelics.
Which I didn't bring any.
I got you covered.
Good.
I know everybody out there has to be just as frustrated as I am when it comes to the BS and the rhetoric that the mainstream media continuously tries to force feed us. And I also know how frustrating it can be to try to find some type of a reliable news source. It's getting really hard to find the truth and what's going on in the country and in the world. And so one thing we've done here at Sean Ryan Show is we are developing our newsletter. And the first contributor to the newsletter that we have is a woman, former CIA targeter. Some of you may know her as Sarah Adams, call sign Superbad. She's made 2 different appearances here on the Sean Ryan Show. And some of the stuff that she has uncovered and broke on this show is just absolutely mind-blowing. And so I've asked her if she would contribute to the newsletter and give us a weekly intelligence brief. So it's going to be all things terrorists, how terrorists are coming up through the southern border, how they're entering the country, how they're traveling, what these different terrorist organizations throughout the world are up to. And here's the best part, the newsletter is actually free. We're not going to spam you. It's about 1 newsletter a week, maybe 2 if we release 2 shows. The only other thing that's going to be in there besides the intel brief is if we have a new product or something like that. But, like I said, it's a free CIA intelligence brief. Sign up. Links in the description or in the comments. We'll see you in the newsletter. Want more from the Sean Ryan Show? Join our Patreon today for more clips and exclusive content. You'll get an exclusive look behind the scenes where you can watch the guests interact with the team and explore the studio before every episode. Plus, unlock bonus content like our extra intel segments where we ask our guests additional questions. Our new SRS on-site specials and access to an entire tactical training library you will not find anywhere else. And the best part? Patreon members can ask our guests questions directly. Your insights can help shape the show. Join us on Patreon now, support the mission, and become part of the Sean Ryan Show's story. All right, Bob, we're back from the break. I want to dig into psychedelics. It's something that, like I'd mentioned earlier, it fixed a lot of things going on with my family. My son was 6 months old at the time when I finally decided to take that leap. And it's just totally changed everything for me. My family life, my business, old relationships, opened me up to a lot of things that maybe I wasn't confident diving into before. And I think would be a great way to put it. And sent me on a spiritual journey and found God and faith in Christ, and just so much good has come from since the very first time. And so I know for you, I mean, we had talked about your childhood, having grown up in a rough environment. We talked about Vietnam, coming home from Vietnam. I'm sure there's a lot of business stress. I mean, I can only imagine because I'm stressed out of my mind just with what I'm running, and I find a lot of peace through those. And it took me, I guess, almost 10 years after I finally left doing contract work for the CIA in various combat zones to finally take that leap. It took you 49 years, if I'm correct. 49 years. How did you hear about psychedelics?
How did I hear about psychedelics? You know, when I was a kid in the 60s, you know, there was LSD around, and of course, marijuana, I don't consider a psychedelic. There was, and then you hear guys talking about mushrooms and other stuff, but I never did any of that then because, number one, I didn't feel the need to, and I didn't I was a little afraid of it because I didn't know much about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you had all these rumors that, you know, if you took LSD, you might try to fly off a building and you know, shit like that. So I didn't pay any attention to it, and I didn't even think about it that it would be that it would have the medicinal properties that it would do. Even though, in spite of for millennia, we have other cultures that have used it to handle problems that we have all the time, and they don't have at all because of their wise use of psychedelics. So the thing that made the difference for me was in 2017. It didn't happen until 2017. I read Michael Pollan's book, How to Change Your Mind. And Michael Pollan's book is a treatise on psychedelics. And, you know, and it doesn't talk about iboga, even though that's granddaddy of them all, baby.
Have you done that?
No.
I have. That was my first one.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, I haven't. And maybe one day. But I don't. I haven't so far. But I read his book, and you know, and I was fascinated. First, the book reads like a novel, reads like mine reads, and like a, you know, and I could not get over that could be a solution for me, and so I told my wife Renee that I would like to try this, and she had me fixed up within 2 weeks.
Are you serious?
Dead serious. She had me hooked up, and it just so happened that she had been talking to a friend who had a journey like this, and on and on and on, and it just everything just dovetailed together, and so she introduced me to these people, and two guides work under the radar, of course. And I met them in Hawaii, and I did for 3 days. I did 3 different types of psychedelics. First day I did ayahuasca, and you know, that's different. Yeah, you would never buy that at a soda fountain, would you? Nasty tasting stuff. But anyhow, you know, it is what it is. Some people swear by it. The second day, I did magic mushrooms. And let's tell you a story that is funny. My guide, he made this, he had this this teapot, and he said, this holds 3 large cups. And I made it very strong, this magic mushroom tea, so you'll only need 1 cup. Now, I swear what I'm going to tell you is true. I drank all 3 cups, and I ate the tea bags. And I was righteously stoned. And I was there, here, there, and everywhere. And did I have a journey? Yeah, I did. And it was all positive, some tears and so forth, but it was all positive. And then the next day I took off, took a break, and that day my wife and I went and played golf. And what I liked is it felt like the fauna, like the bushes and the grass and it all knew I was there and I was alive and what I've been doing, and it was supportive. And I never putted that good in my life. It was like whatever green I was on, it was like the grass would say, "Hit it here, Bobby." And I would, and it'd go bend right around into the cup. I mean, it was incredible. Now, it never happened, again or since, but it happened that one time. And so it was a great experience. The next day, it was LSD, and the LSD. I took a strong dose of it, and it was had the same impact the other two did, and I didn't have any hallucinations on that. But I sure had a righteous buzz and was happy to talk and felt good about things. And when it was all said and done, my wife noticed it first. She said, "You're different. You're easier to talk to. You're easier to get along with. You it's you don't have that temper, and that edge about you is gone." And then I could feel it too. And then the people that I work with also knew it. They could see it. And so I made a sharp turn away from PTSD at that point. I like to say at that time it had been 49 years since the war for me, and I finally came home.
Wow. What I'd like to dive into that a little more in depth, but before we get into each specific journey, I'm just, what is it that, I know you found the book, but what was going on in your life at that time? What sent you on the search?
Well, brother, I had an edge about me that I didn't like, and I would lose my temper, and I just would hate myself for it, because there was no reason. It was always something stupid, and so it was always under a quest. I knew that. It's first, I've had a battle with some depression. I had fought this horrid temper that I had, and I just never liked being around people. I liked being alone, and that's it's not a good thing. It's, at least if you can overcome why you're like that. It was terrible for me when days like the days the trees fell, and that reminded. It was an experience I had in Vietnam, and I would always go back there on the 4th of July. And I would do whatever I could to avoid fireworks, to stay away from that sort of thing. But it's stuff like that. And, I've been, my wife is my third wife. I've been given my walking papers twice. And it's never a pleasant time. So, and I knew that the women that I married both times were good women. There wasn't nothing wrong with them. But the problem was me.
What do you mean the day the trees fell?
Okay, I'll tell you about the day the trees fell. We set up for ambush one night in a graveyard in Vietnam, and we're it was all Vietnamese are buried sitting up. At least most of them are that I'm aware of, and we had a squad, a couple of clicks right of us, a couple of clicks left of us, and so I was facing just inward to this area where all these trees were, and I was leaning against the mound, and there was all of a sudden on the right of us there was a firefight started. And then there was a firefight on the left of us, and there was bullets. You've been shot at many times. You know what it sounds like when a bullet goes by. You know, it sounds like beef or something flying by. But I mean, it was like, it's going like crazy. So he couldn't stand up. And then one of the guys in our squad, probably George, called in artillery. It must have been NVA moving towards us from the front of us area I was facing, and all I could see was I don't know how far out it was, maybe a couple 100 yards, maybe 100 yards, I don't know, but it would be like everything would light up. And then you'd see these trees, these palm trees, just falling down, and then on and on and on. And it must have been for like 15 minutes, and then quiet. And that's what I'm talking about. That particular night, that night was crazy. And what was crazier about it, that particular graveyard, there was a squad of ours a month or so before I got there that set up in that graveyard, and they all died because the Vietnamese somehow or another.
They were buried sitting up?
No, they weren't buried. They were just mutilated, like sometimes happens. But none of us were hurt that night. Just the trees were.
What about the family life? I mean, 2 wives, you got kids, grandkids, great-grandkids. You're running a major enterprise. I would imagine that takes somewhat of a toll on the family.
Yeah, it does. It does. But, I can tell you the painful thing is, what I decided was early on, might have been a good thing that I wasn't always around.
Because of your temper?
Yeah, temper. I mean, I never got physical, never once, but sure was verbal and loud, and that's. I'm happy that with my angel, I'm past that. At least 99%.
Are you close with your kids?
Yeah.
All of them?
Yeah.
How many kids do you have?
3.
Close with the grandkids?
Grandkids, not as much. Great-grandkids, haven't met them yet.
Haven't met them yet?
Haven't met them yet.
How old are they?
They're, I think, 2.5 and 1, something like that.
Do you want to meet them?
Of course I do.
Well, what's going on?
Well, I will, but I will when I'm ready. Dad.
Gotcha. So you got all this going on in your life. You find Michael Pollan's book, read it, decide you're going to do it. Wife makes the connection.
Right.
What are you seeing in your ayahuasca journey?
What did I see in my ayahuasca journey? I've seen less in the ayahuasca journey than I did in the mushrooms and the LSD. And I think the reason for it is maybe give me a lighter dose.
Anything get revealed? Any epiphanies?
In the ayahuasca? If it was anything, it's that I needed to change and I could change, and there you go. But That is it.
How about the psilocybin?
Psilocybin had the biggest difference on me a number of times, and it seems to work good.
What did you see?
What did I see?
What was
Well,
revealed?
I had that flashback of processing those guys to Vietnam. And then I told you when I was in troop processing just before I rotated home. I could see those guys like I was there, like they were yesterday. I mean, like I was sitting here with you now.
Was it looking at that experience through a different perspective?
It's just I seen the horror of it. I mean, the how that bullshit happens, and these guys are walking into that and they don't have a clue. I mean, I seen that, and I mean, and the mess. If I had to tell you what my most stressful points were to cause PTSD, I would have never picked that. I just wouldn't have, because I buried it.
Mm-hmm.
But it came out, and it was one of the most profound.
What else was revealed?
That's it.
The whole experience was Vietnam.
Well, Vietnam, the war is rough for me. Being a kid is also a rough time. But see, I was never, when I was a kid, I was never abused. I was neglected, and it's just as bad, maybe worse. I don't know, but I don't know. Both times bothered me. Early on, when I was talking about the introduction and that letter I wrote myself, I mean, it was everything I could do to tell you about it without crying totally. And maybe one day I will. I'll be able to talk about it, but I mean, it just wrenches my soul every time. So,
I think a lot of firstborns, kids with neglect, kids that are abused. I mean, I think a lot of them, they become overachievers, and like we're always trying to prove something. I'm the oldest. I can relate somewhat. But it's just, when you were building all your companies, when you were in Vietnam, I mean, who were you trying to prove anything to? Anybody? Were you looking for some type of acceptance? Were you looking for some type of self-worth?
No and no. Self-worth, maybe. It's tough to know what I was. I just know I love doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an area that I think was a big advantage for me. I just loved it.
Yeah.
And so, I was willing to channel my energy and time into it, and use that as a release to kind of self-treat or self-medicate PTSD, if you will. I mean, when you don't work 60-hour shift followed by 8-hour sleep, followed by a 60-hour shift, followed by, for a few months, unless you're a bit of a workaholic, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, that's what it was. But I love doing it. But I didn't do it because I hated doing it. I used to look at my watch, and I never looked at it and said, "Oh, it's 4 o'clock. I got another 12 hours left to work." I would look at it and say, "Oh, it's 4 o'clock. Oh man, I only have 12 hours I can work." I mean, that sort of thing.
That resonates with me. But I mean, I guess what I'm saying is if you were neglected as a child, then, all therapists go back to childhood. And they say that a lot of this stuff stems from childhood. Even with a lot of war trauma, they dive more into, in my experience, they dive more into childhood than they do anything else. And And so that's what makes me curious is if you built these companies to gain the approval or interest, or just having your parents be proud of what you've built could be a major driver to a lot of people. And sometimes you got to dig for it, but that's what I'm asking you, is if you think that, by growing up rough and being neglected, if it was a driver in your business, in your entire life.
Well, I think, it had to be in the sense that I grew up knowing that if I really wanted something, I better be working for it. Mm-hmm. All right. So that in itself is a driver, as opposed to somebody that's working with a silver spoon, right? And you're born with that, they might not, have that discipline.
Those are registered.
Yeah. So I was born with a dirty plastic spoon. You act differently with one of those.
Mm-hmm. And what about your experience with LSD?
LSD has been in a different type of drug for me. I think it's been helpful. I tend to get a little with LSD, a little nauseous with it, but never so nauseous that I purge and then move on to the next step. Just nauseous. Mm-hmm. So I've knowing that I've avoided it, but I still think having LSD at the same time I had the combination of ayahuasca, magic mushrooms, and or psilocybin and LSD. I think that is a powerful combination for me.
And you saw the effects immediately, and your wife did.
Yes.
What did she see?
Well, she seen I was kind of the guy she wanted to be married to. There you go. So, it's like I was told once that every young couple that gets married, right, the husband thinks that doesn't want his wife to change. And the wife doesn't want her husband, wants her husband to change. And often they're both disappointed. Well, she was happy to see that her husband changed. Or maybe changed.
And it stuck.
Yeah.
Do you continue to use psychedelics?
I have, but I don't. I mean, I haven't in a while. My wife did a journey not too long ago with her sisters. They had some family stuff they were dealing with, and it's been great. And I would tell you what, and it's been. I mean, I love the woman tremendously, but since her journey, I love her even more.
Have you guys ever done anything together?
Oh, we have done MDMA, and done it twice, I think. But it's been a while.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Why did you dive back in? Did you start to see any fall off from what you'd gained from your initial journey?
No, I did because it was there. And I thought maybe I could still be better.
Did you have an ego death?
An ego death?
Have you heard of this?
No.
An ego death. Have you ever heard of 5-MeO-DMT?
Yeah.
Have you done that?
I have, and let me tell you a story with that. I've done that, and that's the kind that you smoke right?
Toad venom.
Well, I've smoked it and did it 3 times. Smoked it, felt nothing, and my guide, who is my dear friend, said there must be something wrong with this, and he took a puff of it and was on the roof. So for some reason or another, that stuff doesn't affect me.
No kidding.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but it's the damnedest thing.
Damn, I did Ibogaine and then followed by 5-MeO-DMT, and that was a total ego death. I thought, you legitimately think, you don't think, in your mind, you are 100% certain that you are dying. and then you cross over into this other realm. And once it's the most anxiety, the most fear, the most all of that stuff that I've ever experienced at any one particular given point in time. Lasts for maybe 15 to 30 seconds, but it feels like an eternity. And I think a lot of people fight it and maybe they don't cross over, but if you can actually let it go, just let go and actually die, because you are 100% certain you are dying. It's like your entire life. And it's hard to describe, but it's like you just start letting go of everything. You let go of possessions and friends, and then there's like the final thing. And the final thing for me was I was having a problem releasing my wife and my firstborn son. I didn't have my daughter at the time, and that was my last thought before I crossed over. Was I can't fucking die, because I can't leave my wife and my son in this fucked up place. And then I let that go, and you cross over to this other realm, and man, it really opens you up to all the good in the world. And I'd always heard about. It took me a long time to do this, because I always thought psychedelics are just for fucking hippies. And I definitely don't consider myself a hippie. But I've heard him talk about energy and good energy and bad energy. And once I crossed over into that realm, I could see all of the energy flowing from the beach into the ocean, into the trees, the birds, the sky. I could tell that everything was connected one way or another. But I wasn't hallucinating. It was more of an intuitive type experience. I felt my best friend Gabe, that I was telling you about, whose Glock and flag is up there. I felt his presence. We didn't talk, but I could just feel him. And that stuff just changed my entire life. It cured my addiction. I was a major alcoholic, sucking down pills, Valium, Xanax, Ambien, Selenor, oxycodone, all of it, anything I could get my hands on, just to numb it out. Gone like that. Haven't had a drop of booze since.
Wow.
And yeah, it totally. And then on top of that, just being on the platform that I've built in front of millions of people, there were subjects that I felt beholden to my audience. I can't venture into this because my audience doesn't want to see it. And it took all that shit away. It said, fuck it, just do whatever the fuck you want to do. And I started doing that, and my business was already on a rocket ship. And then once I didn't care anymore about anything but my own curiosity, my business it gave me the courage to say no to things. It gave me the courage to dive into new areas. It gave me the courage to start looking at the afterlife and what that looks like. And we were talking about guardian angels. It sent me down a whole spiritual journey with that, and looked into the universe and all kinds of shit, and eventually landed on Christianity. But and I continue to do self-maintenance, not on any particular cadence, but I've done a fair amount of psilocybin, and man, that stuff really cleaned me out too, with a lot of the stuff that was going on between me and my wife. And I think everybody should do this.
I think so. I think it is. It's one of the answers. I think when we start doing it as a people, should we ever start doing it as a people, it'd be a renaissance.
Why did you decide to do it again? after your initial experience?
Why did I decide to do it again after the initial experience? You know, the first time it was I wanted to fix a problem. Second time, I wanted to get better, keep getting better. See, and now I feel I'm, probably about as good as I'm going to get. So, I not doing it as much.
Do you think you'll do it again?
Might. Hope so. Hope so. Like to do it with my wife again. But
What do you like to surround yourself with? Nature, when you do it?
nature. Nature is one. It's hard to go wrong with that. And friends.
Do you find clarity? Do you find answers?
Not in the sense that there's something that I'm looking for. No.
Do you go into it with intentions?
No.
No?
Yeah, well, wait a minute. Let me. I was with one of the guides who was he was the guy that did my first journey in 2017. Him and his partner, and I had thought about what I wanted to accomplish when he was there with me, and we went ahead and I had a journey and so forth, and I never thought I accomplished anything, but I accomplished everything. And I know you're going to ask me, you're going to say, well, what is it you wanted to accomplish? I don't fucking remember. And you're going to say, well, how do you know? Well, I did at the time, I knew. But now I got my brain I've been eating chocolate chip cookies and they've clouded my thoughts.
Oh, man. Are you a Christian?
Yes.
How did you find faith?
How do I find it?
How did you find faith?
What does that mean?
Faith?
How do I find it?
Faith in God, faith in Christ.
Or how do I find it?
How did you find it?
How did I find it? I think it takes an effort for me. But, there's a saying, there's no atheist in a foxhole. Right?
I know that saying very well.
Yeah, no atheist in a foxhole. And, that's the best I can do.
Do you think that psychedelics is a bridge into a spiritual realm?
I think so. And I'd like to think that, that I haven't been able to really get in there as deep as is there available for the getting. Now, the one thing I can tell you, under the supervision of a doctor, of a physician, I've taken a strong injection of ketamine and have an absolutely total hallucination, almost geometric and stuff like that. Don't think I'll see anybody again, and just pretty heady stuff. But coming through that, I don't have any particular thing that I come away with, other than love solves most things, violence solves nothing, and those particular things would be what I came away with that as.
Well, I would say that's pretty profound.
Yeah. So I do know when I spend time and I study Christianity and I read about it, I get a feeling that I don't get from anything else.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. Well, Bob, I really appreciate you coming, and it was an honor to interview you and document your life journey. And I just want to say thank you again, and God bless.
No,
Cheers.
thanks, brother. Well, I appreciate being here. You're quite a guy. You've had quite a life, and God bless you. I mean, you could be an angel.
I don't know.
You
about
are an
that,
angel.
but thank you. No matter where you're watching Sean Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts.